I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a
Serious impulse control problem!
There is but one course for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Good morning. Welcome to this edition of Snowman in the Morning, which is going to be kind of like a best of, because I'm down here in Durham, North Carolina for the possibly remainder of the week, at least until Saturday, until I have to go to Raleigh to do some games. So what you're going to hear is my take on the failed Jock Peterson trade, a couple of NBA conversations, one from last Friday concerning the trade deadline. I have a couple of going-in segments, one concerning Kobe Bryant, the other concerning the Golden State Warriors, and then you'll hear interviews from Renee Washington, as well as Damian Adams. I know y'all have heard that on basically a loop, but he is a good friend, and he's going to be on later this week. Also, a great conversation that I had with Andre Day of the Black in Business podcast, and a few other interviews, including one with a former NBA world champion. So stay tuned for that. I want to welcome back to the show a young man I had on a long time ago. Too damn long. He has been tearing it up in the podcast ranks, and I mean that with all the love in the world. I want y'all to listen for this name as he continues to climb the podcast ranks, the radio show ranks, and I tell you what, I'm so happy to have him back on my show to talk a little hoops with me. He is the host of The Real Deal with Damian Adams, and Damian Adams has joined me. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Like you said, it's been way too long, but I'm super happy to be back on the show with you.
Oh man, I am excited to have you with me. So let's talk. Let's talk NBA, because it's one of our specialties, and you and I we're playful with each other on the internet when we go back and forth on social media. But first of all, let me get your thoughts on one Kobe Bean Bryant.
Man, just such a tragic tragedy. You know, when you think about the fact that we lost 9 people way too soon, and, you know, the thoughts go through your mind of, you know, should they have ever gotten on a helicopter? When you hear about how foggy it was, you know, should they have, you know, we knew that it was a way of life for Kobe to take a helicopter because it just made things easier for him.
Yeah. When
it comes to traffic and just being able to move around with somebody who's that famous, not, you know, being on the streets with everybody and things like that. So we get it that was something he did normally, like we do with our cars every day. But you just wonder if that's the day they should have changed up the routine because of the weather, and could they have changed things? But, you know, you can't go back. And so now you just have to take time to not only remember Kobe, but remember Gigi and remember all the victims on this, you know, on that flight. With Kobe, when you think about Kobe, he definitely made a great impact on the world. And if there's one silver lining to this tragedy, it's the fact that you see how many people he affected in such a major way.
And LeBron's speech this past Friday night, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The LeBron speech this past Friday night had me crying, okay? Especially when he spoke from the heart. I absolutely adored that.
Yeah, definitely. It was the tribute as a whole just was so touching. And it was understandable afterwards how it was kind of a weird feeling because you're watching the game and in the arena you could hear a silence.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was some cheering here, some cheering there, but it was an eerie silence. Like people didn't know how to react.
Yeah.
They didn't know, is it okay to move on now? And the thing is, it's okay to move on. You know that you never forget. We're going to have moments where things are going to remind us of Kobe. There's going to be moments where someone does something special where only, Kobe and Michael or LeBron did it. And we're going to remember Kobe again. So we're never going to forget Kobe Bryant. We're never going to forget Gigi. We're not going to forget those other victims on that flight. And that's what the main thing is, to make sure that we keep them in our hearts. And for Kobe, man, when you think of Kobe, for me, I just think of the Mamba mentality. I think of someone who, as he put it, was a talented overachiever. He had the God-given gifts of being 6'6", 6'7", with, great athleticism, but worked as if he was someone like a Matthew Dellavedova. He had that type of work ethic if he was somebody who was, scratching and gnawing to stay in the league. So that's how I remember Kobe, as someone who had the talent of, a Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter and all those guys who worked as if he was the 12th man on the roster.
Yeah, and you'd see it in all of the legends. You see it in all of the guys that shaped this league and made this league what it is now. The international stars, the national stars, all coming together, all offering their thoughts and their prayers for the Bryant family, for the other families, including the Altobelli family that lost their life on that helicopter. And I've said many times on this program, and I know you've heard it, it not only hurts me as a fan, but it particularly hurts me as a parent.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I don't have kids yet, but the first thing, like when it happened, the first person who contacted me was my dad, right? And he, just wanted to say I love you, because you never know when those moments will be lost to be able to say I love you to the next person. We've all lost somebody close to us in not such a horrific way as this, but we've all experienced some type of loss. And this just puts into perspective how life as it's the longest thing you'll do, but it's also something that can end very quickly. So we just have to take every moment and cherish it.
Yeah. Yeah, I say I love you to my wife and my children all the time. You know the story of my baby girl, Donna. I lost her when she was 2. 2015, I lost my dad in 2007. So, yeah, from both ways, it affected me as a fan, as a parent, and as a son. And as you said best, my friend, you have to live your life to the fullest. That's what Kobe did. That's what I'm trying to do. I know that's what you're trying to do, and a fabulous show in the process of doing it. Let's talk some NBA, man. They made some changes to the All-Star game in terms of the scoring, and I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the changes, but I have. And considering it's in my hometown of Chicago, the All-Star game is, and I know they're doing this to honor Kobe. And rightfully so. But I got to be honest with you, man. I took a look at the rules and I went, what the hell are these?
Yeah, I got a chance to look at the rules. I posted it in the group, The Real Deal with Damian Adams group.
Yes.
From the 3-point conversion. They posted the rules and I shared it from their page. And yeah, I had the same reaction you did. I was looking over and I was trying to understand exactly what they were trying to do.
You and I have talked sports a long time. You know that look on my face. I saw the rule and I looked at that link that you posted. And folks, check out the 3-point conversion as well. Another fabulous group of sports journalists. What the hell are these rules, man? What the hell are they trying to do?
The only thing I could say that they're trying to do is maybe this is their way of trying to amp up the competition through all 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Because we know normally with the All-Star game, what you get is you'll get the first 2 quarters and a half where they're just kind of jogging back and forth. You'll get some alley-oops. You'll get some long-distance threes. And then the competition doesn't really go up until the 4th quarter if it's close. And that's when you'll start to get real competition.
And that's a big if. It hasn't been close for a while, but that's a big if.
So with these rules, what they're trying to say is, okay, we're going to have each quarter count as a win or a loss, and maybe that will wrap up the competition. But to me, if you want to honor Kobe, it's up to the players.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can do all the things from the outside perspective, like them wearing 24 and wearing 2 to honor Kobe and Gigi.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But if they want to honor Kobe as far as the play on the court itself, they have to just go out and leave it on the floor. There's a reason Kobe had 4 All-Star MVPs is because he went out there and really played. So those guys, like, there's certain players who do play, like Giannis. Mm-hmm. Like, some people say Giannis plays too hard in the All-Star game. That's something that Kobe would love. So yeah, him, LeBron plays hard. Those guys are going to bring it, and I think that's the normal way you should honor them.
Kobe, MJ, LeBron, Julius Erving back in the day for me when I got started watching, Magic Johnson. You want to honor Kobe? Play that way.
Yeah. Nah, I definitely agree with that. Like, if they just went out there and said, okay, we're going to play for real, that's the thing. You're still going to get the highlights because of the best players in the world. So you're going to have moments where you get a steal, you get a fast break, and you'll still get to have those moments where you throw the ball at the backboard and some crazy athlete gets to come and tear it down. You'll still have those highlights. Yep. And it'll be even better if we know that came off of a real play.
Yeah, if it came within the flow of the offense, if it came, like you said, off of a real play. Let me ask you this, and I've talked so many times on this program about ratings being down for the NBA, and my theory is this, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but I want you to think about this, and I want your thoughts. Does the NBA and its ratings miss the Splash Brothers?
They definitely miss the Splash Brothers. They miss Steph, Clay. Mm-hmm. You miss Zion for a huge portion of the year. Mm-hmm. So those injuries in themselves really cost, right? Yeah. Then LeBron being on the West Coast hurts you because his games come on late in the East Coast, right, where people are asleep already. Mm-hmm. You combine the fact that the Warriors, who have been your biggest draw for the past 5 years, are no longer a draw at all. LeBron being on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. The rookie phenom who was supposed to, have New Orleans on the map was missing for most of the first half of the season. That's really going to hurt your ratings, right? Yeah. So now that Zion's back, Steph will be back. They say maybe 6 weeks to be reevaluated, but the Warriors, I think, they're pretty much lost for this year. Mm-hmm. So when you have Zion coming back, in the playoffs starting where you have games coming on every night and a little earlier, I think that's when you'll start to see those ratings get back up. Yeah. And plus, football season officially ended yesterday. Yep. I think the NBA will be okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think so, too. It was just so many factors that came in at the top of the season. Talking with Damian Adams of The Real Deal with Damian Adams on all things NBA. Man, it's so much to unpack right now. I haven't had you on in a long time. I had one of our mutual friends on, Courtney Harden, a few years ago to talk all things NBA All-Star Game, and we bust out the old school All-Star Game talk and how it was competitive. And I was on his show recently, and we talked the same thing. Is the NBA missing that competitiveness now than it was back in the 80s and the 90s? I wouldn't say it's missing it per regular season games and postseason games. The All-Star Game, definitely. You're not going to see that competitiveness. But I do think that the players themselves are just as competitive as they were back then. Yeah. The game has changed. True. So now that competitiveness just comes out in a different way. So in the 90s, when people were competitive and you saw people get frustrated with Jordan, that's when you saw Bill Laimbeer come and hit Jordan. Those things aren't going to happen now. Right. Yeah. That's when you saw the rise of the bad boys, and on top of that, that's when you saw the Bulls answer them. Exactly. Yeah. So, it was a different way to, channel your competitiveness back then than it is now. But now you have it to where it's so much more free flowing. I believe the game today is more attractive than it was then. Yeah. When you think about the way that the game is so spread out and how you get so many great plays and you get to see these athletes on offense do what they do. And defensively, I believe it's harder to play today than it was back then because you're not allowed to touch up the players like you were back then. There's no hand checking. People forget about hand checking. Like that, it makes your job so much easier when you can just have your hand on the player, holding them pretty much as they're trying to make their move as you guard them.
No hand checking.
You have to move your feet.
No
you
arm
have to move your
bars.
feet.
No arm bars. You can't do that either.
Exactly. That's gone.
Don't get me started on screens. Don't get me started on fundamental screens, man.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing. That's one of the things that I used to hate watching the Warriors as they're going through their success. You know, you see Draymond Green get away with illegal screens all day. But it's something.
Draymond Green in modern times was Bill Laimbeer and James Edwards back in the 80s and 90s, all right, for the bad boy Pistons. Let's just be
That's
real.
One thing I'll say about Draymond. Draymond's one of those players that was built for back then. Like, if he was playing back then, he'll fit right in.
Absolutely.
So it's something that, like, the style has changed, but I think the competitiveness of the players is still there. They're just smarter about the way they go about it. I'm not a big fan of the load management, but I get it. You know, when you have a player who may have a sore knee or tendonitis, like a Kawhi Leonard, you may be smarter to manage it, you know, but some players are just built different. Like LeBron could play in any era, right? Yes. Because the way he's built, he could, you know, plow through anybody. He could plow through the 80s, you know, because he's built for that. So I think we should appreciate the 80s and 90s for what it was, and we still could appreciate today for the wide open spread game that we have and the entertainment we get today.
I'll give you a couple of dream matchups I would love to have seen across eras. Start with the guard position. Wouldn't you love to see a couple of games when AI would go up against Stephen Curry?
It'd be amazing. Neither one of them could stop each other. But it'd be amazing to watch.
It would be so amazing. Yeah. The dribbling sensation of AI, the dribbling of Stephen Curry, clear the floor and let them go at it, man.
Yeah, exactly. And we only got a taste of it. We got very young Steph against older AI. So we didn't get to see them in their prime against each other. I wish we could have got to see that because you think about AI and him being so dominant in the mid-range and being able to drive to the goal at his size, you know, being maybe the best pound-for-pound player of all time. Then with Steph, no matter what era you play in, you can't stop a guy who's shooting from 6 feet behind the line. Like, it doesn't matter what era you're in, how rough you try to be. If he's pulling up from 6 feet behind the line, it doesn't matter. So I don't think either they couldn't stop each other.
I mean, how many times I get the Warriors Network, you know, they're on KNBR or 95.7 The Game, I beg your pardon. How many times have we heard Tim Roy or Bob Fitzgerald on NBC Sports Bay Area go, he's shooting from the logo? And you're thinking, what? Yeah, no,
it's crazy. Steph, you know, Dame has become logo Lillard.
Oh, man. So Damian has really grown. I love watching Damian Lillard play. Love watching him play.
Yeah, no, he's amazing.
I mean,
he's amazing.
We got Damian and Steph last year in the West Finals. I just wish it had gone longer than 4 games. But when you're playing the two-time Warriors, and they weren't even at full strength, so that tells you, A, how far Portland has advanced, and B, how tough the Warriors were. I'll give you a dream matchup. How about an ultimate three-point contest? Let's do this. An ultimate three-point contest. You got to have Ray Allen. You got to have Steph. You got to have Clay. You got to throw Larry Bird in the picture.
Definitely.
You got to throw Reggie Miller in the picture.
Yep.
Right?
No, you definitely got to have those 5. If you throw in a 6th for ultimate three-point contest,
who would be
think about, like, there's so many great shooters.
Yeah, there is. There is. Who would be that?
So many great.
Who would be that 6th
I'm thinking Glenn Wright.
Yeah, that's 6. We got to have 8.
Yeah.
We got to have 8. We got Steph. We got Steph. We got Clay, Bird, Reggie Miller, Glenn Rice, Ray Allen.
Yeah.
We got 6, and you gotta have 7. We gotta have 7 and 8. We got to have 7 and 8 because back in the day you had 8 competitors.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if you're going to go old school with 8 competitors for Craig Hodges.
Yes, thank you, Craig Hodges. And you know what?
Yes, because he was amazing.
I know who the 8th person is. Steve Kerr.
Yeah. Now, Steve Kerr is definitely, I think he still holds the record for his most accurate three-point shooter of all time.
Yeah.
So, got to have him in there as well.
Got to have Steve Kerr. Now, how about the ultimate slam dunk contest?
Well, you got to have Vince Carter.
You got to have Vinsanity. Got to have MJ.
Yeah. Got MJ. Kobe. Dominique Wilkins.
Kobe gets a vote.
Yeah, I'll throw Kobe in there as well.
Kobe gets a vote.
I would go a little new school and take Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
Zach LaVine's nasty.
Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
You want to stay new school? Here's another new schooler I'd add. You'd have to be a few years back. Andre Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala was nasty. He was good in the contest. He was pretty good. He's somebody who gets forgotten about because of Nate Robinson. But Andre Iguodala's nasty. Yeah, he was nasty in the contest.
Yep.
Someone else who was nasty. He's not so new school anymore. He retired a few years ago. But Jason Richardson.
Jason Richardson.
Very good in the dunk contest.
Julius Erving.
Yeah, his battles with Desmond Mason were great.
Julius Erving.
You gotta have Dr. J. He's the
gotta have Dr. J.
Yeah.
And the one who won it in '84 to start the new trend, Larry Nance. He was the first to have a 2-ball dunk. You gotta have Larry Nance in there.
Yeah. Now Larry Nance definitely his athleticism at that size was just crazy. For him to be doing those things,
man.
And at that time too, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. But like I said, we got to have Dr. J in there because he dunked from the foul line in 1976, and then Jordan did it in '85 in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the 2-ball competition involving the best pairs, and you know where I'm going to start. You know where I'm going to start first. I got to go to my hometown and get MJ and Scotty to start with.
Yeah.
Gotta have
MJ, Scotty.
Gotta have MJ and Scotty.
Yeah. Definitely. Shaq and Kobe.
Gotta
have. One that doesn't have any championships, but definitely should be up there is Gary Payton and Sean Kemp.
Yeah. Oh, I got a pair for you.
That alley-oop combo was great.
Yes. I got a pair for you. KJ and Charles Barkley. There's a pair.
Kevin Johnson might be the most underrated player of all time.
Thank you.
He was amazing.
We've spoken about KJ. And I posted online that KJ is one of the most underrated point guards to ever play. Which gives me this.
Definitely.
If we expand our ultimate three-point competition to 10 players, I got number 9 for you right now, and that's Mark Price from back in the day with the Cleveland Cavaliers. How about that?
Yeah. Mark Price was great, man. He's somebody who a lot of people sleep on him, but when you see people split up pick and roll today, like that started with Mark Price.
It started with Mark Price. It absolutely started with Mark Price. So you got MJ, MJ and Scotty, Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, Gary and Sean Kemp.
KJ and Charles.
Stockton Malone.
Gotta have Stockton Malone.
Yeah, because that's the greatest duo to not win. Like you have to give them that.
Yeah.
Because you think about one is second all time in points, the other one is first all time in steals and assists.
Yep. Which leads to this. Magic with anybody. James Worthy, Kareem, Byron Scott.
Yeah. That's the thing. You could pick the Lakers team, you could pick a bunch of different duos.
You can pick anybody for that team.
You just put Magic there, and you could just put anybody else there. Like those Showtime Lakers are amazing. Like Magic Kareem, you definitely have to put up there though, as far as duos. This one's for my wife. How about a couple of Indiana Pacers, Mark Jackson and Reggie Miller? That's a good duo. That's really good. You got to put them in there. I think an underrated one for the 2000 finals was Jalen Rose and Reggie Miller. Yeah, those guys, because they were one of the few duos ever to both score 40 points in the game. Yep. People sleep on Jalen Rose and they think of him just as the analyst or the one who got dropped 81 on by Kobe, but he had a pretty good career. People sleep on that. He did. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. Here you go. Speaking of Knicks, Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing. Yeah, Nah, definitely. That's probably the most physical duo that's going to be there. Definitely.
Or here's a physical duo: Larry Bird and Kevin McHale. Since we're talking about duos.
Yeah, no, that's a nasty one. You got the inside-out game.
Yep.
You got the man of 1,000 post move.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin McHale. When you speak of underrated players, Kevin McHale has to be up there as well.
Yes.
Just because of time, people have forgotten how good he was, and plus he was under the shadow of Larry Bird and Robert Parrish. Like, he's one of those guys. Like, he could just go in the post and do work. He wasn't the most athletic.
You want underrated?
But he just does work.
I posted this, and you agreed with this name. Speaking of underrated, James Worthy.
Yeah, he gets lost because of Magic and Kareem.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody who was definitely an awesome player in his day. So you definitely have to give him respect in that way.
Absolutely. You got to have. How about Tim Duncan and David Robinson? There's a pair.
Yeah, no, that definitely was that's a great duo. If you got Tim Duncan, you also have to put Tim Duncan, Tony Parker in there.
Mm-hmm. Pick and roll with Parker and Duncan, or Duncan and Parker, as was the case many times. Let's stay in Texas. Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that team definitely should have won some championships when he was younger. Of course, Hakeem got his two when he got older, but when he was with Ralph Sampson, they definitely should have got one.
How about a current duo, or a duo that I wish was current? Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki. Speaking of Mavericks.
Oh man, yeah. We could somehow put Dirk in the time machine. That would be awesome.
Yep.
I think Dirk and not Dirk, but I think Luka and Porzingis will be a great duo soon.
Yes.
I think those two will work together and become great.
Mm-hmm.
We got Stephen Clay. Got to put Stephen Clay in there.
Got to have the Splash Brothers.
Yeah,
you have to.
Got to put those two in there.
You just have to wonder what records they would set. How about let me go back to my hometown, Derrick Rose and Luol Deng, and how good they were.
That's a good one. Yeah, if Derrick Rose could have stayed healthy longer,
I know
that team could have been. That team definitely could have won championship with the defense they had. Running the offense with Derrick Rose.
And I said the only thing that stopped the Bulls in the Thibodeau era from winning titles was injuries, because they were beat up by the time 2013 got here. And I hated that. I hated that they were that. They were that worn out and they were that beat up. So we got to throw them in there. Rose and Luol Deng, Kobe and Pau Gasol.
Yeah, that's a good duo.
There's a combination.
That's a good duo. People forget how good Pau Gasol was in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
He's arguably a top 10 power forward all time. And, people, because Kobe was so great, people sleep on that. But Pau Gasol, in his prime, man, he was really good.
Oh, how about this duo? Mike Bibby and Chris Webber.
That's a good one. That's a team that probably should have won a championship. 2002, that 2002 Sacramento Kings team is up there. When you talk about the greatest teams to not win,
Kings,
the 2002 Sacramento Kings team is definitely right there.
Yeah. One of the most epic Western Conference Finals we've ever seen. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Damian Lillard.
You got to put LeBron and Kobe.
You got to have LeBron and Kobe.
I mean, not LeBron and Kobe, but LeBron and Dwayne Wade. I meant.
There you go.
You got to put LeBron and Dwayne Wade.
LeBron and Flash. I just spoke their names.
Talking about Damian and
Lillard.
CJ.
Thank you, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Or if you want to go back in the day for the Portland Trail Blazers, Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter.
That's a very good one. That's one that probably gets forgotten in history. That's a very good one.
It's a forgotten duo. The Portland Trail Blazers in 1990, they were a forgotten West champion because everybody had their eyes on Phoenix after they upset the Lakers and took them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. No, that Portland team should have got one. They should have got a championship in there.
They should have got one. They should have got. Here you go, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. If you want to stay modern,
that's a duo that's pretty good for the years to come. you think about Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is what, 23, 24, and Gobert is like 27.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got a team. That's a pretty good duo for years to come.
Yeah, it is. It is. Damian Adams of The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Oh, man, thank you again for having me on the show. I really do appreciate it. You can find me everywhere on social media at The Real Deal WDA. So that's The Real Deal, W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha. The show, The Real Deal with Damian Adams, is available wherever you listen to podcasts. So if you listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find The Real Deal with Damian Adams. It's real sports talk for real sports fans. So I know if you listen to this show, you're a real sports fan, and you will enjoy my show as well.
I truly appreciate those words, my man. Please subscribe to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. I'm a subscriber. I recommend his podcast. I recommend his show. He just recommended mine. Man, thank you so much for coming on. I got to have you on again more often. We got to do this again.
Definitely. I got to have you on my show as well. We got to make this connection happen more often. Thank you again, sir.
You got it, my friend. Thank you very much.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
So I had the pleasure recently of being on a wonderful show called Black in Business. And I figure with this being Black History Month, I'm going to return the favor. On the hotline with me is one of the fellows who's in charge of said podcast. This is Andre Day, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, my brother. How are you?
I am doing great. First of all, let me say thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come on to your podcast and spreading some knowledge and spreading some love for the other podcasters, the other independent show hosts that do this just like we do. I can't thank you enough for that.
Man, listen, I tell you, I can't thank you enough for being on the show, because you gave more than what I even thought was going to be given. Like, I thought it was going to be like, regular run of the mill, and then we end by spreading love and showing love to brothers and almost putting us to tears, man. So I thank you a whole bunch for that. Thank you for being on the show.
That was one of the things I really wanted to touch on, and it's something, my wife tells me all the time. She says, maybe that can be part of your message as well as you having fun doing your sports show. Maybe you can drive that point home. And this is the point that I've driven home, for the time that she and I have been together and for a while now. There is not enough help out there in many ways for men. Let's take color out of the equation. There's not enough help out there for men who need to get back on their feet, who desire to get back on their feet, and for those who want to stay on their feet. That's why I love talking about that particular message, and I'm glad you helped me spread that message when I was on your show.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the things, and also one of the reasons that caused me to start the show was I wanted to spread a message not only for African Americans, but also just for the wider generation in general. A lot of individuals my age, both male and female, I don't believe they have the same drive that people before us had. And then also with that, a lot of people don't get, like you said, enough assistance to start. And I believe it starts from, like, when we grow up, where we're taught certain things and then just kind of let go, and then just like, oh, you're an adult, you can do it. But you get a totally different, you get like a totally different viewpoint of what adulthood is. And then when you kind of reach back out for help, there's nobody there to help you. So, spreading love and showing love to men is something that we need to do every day. Like, every moment of every day you have, say I love you to a man. It'll help out a whole lot. And
this is what a lot of men don't get. Well, a lot of men get it, but they don't voice it aloud. And I was guilty of such. I said I love you to my dad and my granddad and my uncles every day that they were here. You know, they've all passed on now, but I don't mind one bit saying I love you to a man who is very close to me. There are some broadcasters who I say it to, and I say it live on this show. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a wonderful thing to communicate that, for men to communicate that to each other without having this too PC world misconstrue why we're saying that to each other. It needs to be said a lot more often.
Yeah. And I think also it needs to be said in a way where when you say it with confidence. I feel like if I say it to you, I'm only going to say it when it's only you and I. Like, you know, certain people don't want other people to know that I said I love you. But it shouldn't be that way. Just as well as it doesn't matter if you show affection and love to your wife. People don't want to see that, but you don't care because it's between you and your wife. So I think the same thing should be from man to a man. Like, if I love you, I don't have a problem with giving you a hug, showing you affection, saying I love you, say I appreciate you, taking care of you, things of that nature. And it really doesn't matter what other people say or how they look at me or what they may think, because it's not for them to, like, it's not for them. It's for me and you. So as long as you and I have the understanding, I can honestly care less about what other people think.
And that's
really where I think a lot of people don't show it, is because they believe or think, oh, I don't want this person to think differently of me or what this person might say. And it really is affecting you more than what you may know.
It really is. It really does affect the person that, you know, thinks aloud and thinks constantly about what other people think. I've had to learn from other people, my wife included, and my daughter and my son included. You know, you can't think about what people say or think about you. That's just going to affect you. Do I have my days where I slip back into that? Absolutely. And I say that I say that aloud, and I say that with conviction, because I'm still learning a lot from my wife and her family, and I'm learning a lot about myself at the same time. Being on your show where I was allowed to express what I felt, and not just in the sports world, but just in life, that meant a lot to me. I can't thank you and your partner enough for allowing that to happen and allowing that message to be spread. That needs to be spread more often. So if men can communicate like that, do you know how different this country, let alone this world, will be?
I think people are afraid of what might happen. When I grew up, I saw a lot of things in person and a lot of things that are on TV that don't really show men loving each other. So adults now that are in my age bracket, you know, late 20s, early to mid 30s, don't have that I love you type of mentality. So what happens in turn is that you have an issue, you deal with it by yourself, and then when you don't know how to get the results you need to make a better outcome for yourself, you start lashing out and doing things that you normally wouldn't do. So to answer your question, if we express love to one another more often, I think we would have, number one, happier individuals. And number two, we would be able to think more clearly and start doing things that would help us with a better life instead of putting us where we are in that mentality of crabs in a barrel, trying to keep everybody down. We would want to see everybody move up. So I think it would have an effect that I don't think the world is ready for on the African American side. Like, if we really put our minds together and stick to one another, I think we can be, actually, I know we can be a force to be reckoned with.
Where did you grow up? Let's find out more about Andre. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn. Both my parents are from New York. I lived in New York for about 7 or 8 years or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I moved to New Jersey for about a year or two. And after New Jersey, I moved to Maryland And I've been here in the Maryland, D.C. area since, let's say, 9th grade or so.
Wow.
9th or 10th grade. Yeah.
Wow. So you're originally from New York. I can hear that accent come out. Where's your sports loyalties lie? Which teams get you at the heart?
Well, I am a football fan, so my first team at heart would be the Giants.
Good man.
I also like to see the Jets every once in a while, just because they're also New York. I don't really watch a lot of baseball, but it does feel nice and feel good to see the Yankees do something well.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I would say basketball. I was into the Celtics, but after they dismantled the Kevin Garnett and the Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, I kind of spread away from the Celtics. Right now, I'm just kind of open. I like kind of any basketball team as long as it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really watch a lot of hockey, but people tell me I need to get into it because it's a really good and interesting sport. And that's really about it for sports.
Now, I'm going to tease you because I do have love for the New York Football Giants. I loved it back in the day when Bill Parcells and Bill Walsh would hook up and go at it, be it at the old Giant Stadium or at old Candlestick Park. You're not into basketball that much?
Not like I used to, no. Like I said, I used to be a Celtics fan, but once they dismantled that amazing team, I just kind of, I don't know, I went away.
Good. Then I can say Michael Jordan and get away with it.
I mean, hey, listen. Even though you don't watch basketball, you know who Michael Jordan is.
Yes. Thank you.
He was on the Wheaties box. He was on every magazine. I mean,
he was all over the place.
You walk into any country and say MJ, there's only one person that, I mean, they might do Michael Jackson, but only those two have MJ. There's no other MJs that are prominent in everybody's mind. So, yeah, you're fine with Michael Jordan. That's cool.
So true. And I've spoken to a couple of hardcore Knicks fans, and I kid them a lot. And I said, well, I guess I can't say Michael Jordan, and they start growling at me, but then we all start laughing at it. But I love having conversations like this during the show that, gives people the other side of the shows and the podcasts that I do. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, and you got to tell me how did you get your podcast started?
Well, in a previous job I had, I was just kind of sitting in the office, and it was a Friday afternoon, I believe. And I'm just sitting there pondering, like, what else can I do besides work every day, same job, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturday, and just go home? Like, there has to be something else I can do. So I started just thinking, like, I'm not really putting my business degree into play, because this job that I had at that time, really anybody can do. And I really wasn't doing much of a side hustle per se. So my supervisor at the time walked through the door, and as soon as he walked through the door, a light bulb came into my head, and I was like, ooh, I can do something that promotes small businesses, but how can I do it? So, I sleep on it. I think about it for a couple of days, and I go, well, I can do a podcast. Well, how do I do one? I did my research, and once I found out that you can literally start a podcast for free, it was a no-brainer after that. All the thing I needed was people to have on the show. As long as you have an email address and a place to host your podcast, it's essentially free. You don't have to buy anything. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your laptop. I think the only thing that you may need to buy if you want to get fancy is a microphone.
Yeah.
But everything else is essentially free. So once I got that idea, I just started reaching out to people, and letting them know like, hey, I want to start a podcast and, you know, promote small business owners and kind of discuss with them how they started and, you know, what they do to keep themselves going and things of that nature. And, you know, I got a few people to say, hey, yeah, no problem. I'll be on your show. And I was kind of taken back like, oh, really? You want to be on my show? So, okay. Okay. Like I was kind of nervous at that point. But then I said, this is what I wanted to do. And I did it. So it just kind of went from there.
Well, I am very proud of you. I am very proud to have been a guest on your podcast. You and I share a mutual friend, Stephen Askins of the Inside Inside Football Blitz. He was on your program, and he was the guy that led me to you and led me to your podcast. So I am very, very proud to be a guest on your podcast. I'm proud to have you on this show. And tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Oh, so they can find me. I would say the easiest way is to, you can email us at blackandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. They can find us on Facebook, which is Black in Business Podcast. It can also be found on Instagram, which is Black_in_business. And we're located at, you know, on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast. We're on, what is that other one? Spotify. And I believe those are the three major ones. I mean, we're on some other smaller ones I can't think of right now, but those are the three major ones at this point.
Hey, folks, check out the Black in Business Podcast. I was a guest on it. If you know someone that has a small business, and this is Black History Month, if you know someone that has a small business and they want to get featured, this is the guy you contact. This is the podcast that you're on, and you get featured on this show as well. Andre Day, one half of the Black in Business Podcast, joining me here on the program. I can't thank you enough. And I recommend to the folks again, I recommend to the community, please go check out the Black in Business Podcast. Thank you for your time, my friend. I can't wait to have you back on.
I appreciate it. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to my co-host, Bearded Wonder. Once you guys listen to the show, you'll see why he's such an awesome person. And I'm glad to have him as a co-host, and I can't wait to just continue to bring you guys more episodes.
Absolutely. One day I'm going to get you both on the program so we can really have some fun with it. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Speaking of small business, there's a lady by the name of Jennifer Garrett who will join me next after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Hope you're enjoying it as we're enjoying bringing it to you. You know, I am a fan of podcasts. I record them, I produce them, and I listen to them, a lot of them. And this one got my attention, and you guys know that I've begun to recommend a lot of good podcasts for y'all to listen to. Well, this one not only involves sports, it also involves life. And when I listened to it, when I heard about it, I knew I had to listen to it. I listened to it. I became a subscriber immediately, and I'm going to recommend this even before we get this done. The lady that I have on the line is the author of said podcast, Combining Football and Life. And when you listen to this podcast, you're going to get a lot out of it, and I recommend you not only sign up for it, download it, I just recommend everything about it. This is Jennifer Garrett, and she joins me right now. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Okay, you got to tell me how you put this podcast together. What gave you the idea, and what gave you the inspiration to put it together?
Sure. So my podcast is called Move the Ball, and that name was taken from a book that I wrote 7 years ago. And the book was about how you could take football lessons specifically and apply them off the field to be successful in business and in life. And after the book was published, I spent the last 7 years really working with people on how to move the ball and really grow that brand. And I decided that I wanted to do the podcast because it was just another great way to connect with people, having great conversations with professional athletes of all sports, as well as business leaders, on how we can use the athlete mentality and put into practice success strategies and habits so that we can get ourselves to the next level.
You started the podcast the day after the Super Bowl. You really pumped it up. And I have to tell you, I really enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it a lot. What got you into football? What got you started in liking football?
Great question. So I grew up in Chicago in the 80s. I just fell in love with the game. You know, ever since I was 4, I would watch football games with my parents, and what really intrigued me about the sport was not only the fast-paced nature of the game, but also there were these games where you would have these fourth quarter comebacks where teams were down, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns, and the game wasn't over until the game clock hit 0. And so I just found that fascinating and studied the sport my entire life and applied lessons from the game into my own life.
That is great. So you grew up a fan of the Bears back in the 80s, huh? Because I too am from Chicago, and I've seen the Bears over many years. Are there any other teams that you follow aside of the Bears?
Professional or college or either?
Either one.
So I am an Alabama alum, so I very much follow the University of Alabama football team. We had a rough season here this past season, but they'll be back next year for sure.
So I could have you on the show, and all I have to say is roll tide, and off to the races we go. How about a professional aside of the Bears? You follow anyone else?
There's a lot of teams that I like to watch. I think there's some great leaders who are great people both on and off the field. So it's not just the talent, but it's the character. Everyone talks about Tom Brady, right, and how great he was in New England. We'll see where he ends up going. But I do enjoy watching that team because of the leadership. There's a lot of people that don't like watching the.
Well, people have hated on my team because my original team in professional football was the 49ers, and because of a fellow named Joe Montana, who Tom Brady gets compared to all the time. So I completely understand, the hatred, but I draw the same comparison that people do with Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's because of the way that Montana led his team on the field and the way the organization is run. And a lot of that you can apply to what you do with your podcast, which is very motivational, and I absolutely love it. And the lessons that you bring, you can, like you said, you can apply it to life.
Yeah. So I think, I do like watching the Patriots. I mean, there's a lot of great teams. I do like Andy Reid. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely.
For winning the Super Bowl. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just a class act. I enjoyed watching the game. The organization. There's some NFC East teams that I like watching. The Eagles. I like watching the Cowboys. And so, I mean, I'm just a fan of the game, and I love watching good games. So I don't just sit down and watch the Bears play.
Absolutely wonderful. Talking with Jennifer Garrett. I love a phrase that I happened to catch when I was doing my research for this interview, and I love how you put this. Quote, "You are the quarterback. Your life is the game. Own it and move the ball." There's your purpose right there for your podcast. Who are some of the guests that you've taped episodes with or going to tape episodes with so far?
Sure. So the first 3 episodes were released just this past week. The first one was just a solo of me, but I had on the show already Chris Leak. Chris was the quarterback who led the Florida Gators to their national championship in the 2006 season. So he was right before Tim Tebow. Tebow was a freshman when Chris was a senior, taking that team to their championship. Also, I had on Terrence Wood, who is the grandson of Pro Football Hall of Famer Willie Wood, who played for the Packers in the 1960s. Some other guests that I've recorded with already, Paul Pratt. Paul played with the Detroit Lions, and you've got a great organization called Second Wind Mentors, where he mentors young boys of single parent homes currently. So we had a great episode. Another gentleman, Tony Simmons. Tony played on the Patriots. He played on a number of teams. He was nicknamed Touchdown Tony, played at Wisconsin for college ball. Some future guests that are coming up as well. Eric Dungy, who is the son of Tony Dungy. We're going to be recording an episode here in a couple weeks. But it's not just football athletes. So I've also got a pro skateboarder, Mikey Taylor, who I recorded a show with. His episode will come out early March. Also Rob Murray. Rob played in the National Hockey League and the American Hockey League for many years. He's currently coaching the Tulsa Oilers, which is a minor league hockey team. So my goal is really a good cross section of athletes from all sports.
Absolutely wonderful. Again, this is Jennifer Garrett. You can find her podcast on anywhere where you listen to. It's called Move the Ball. It's the Move the Ball podcast, and it's absolutely wonderful. Tell everybody where they can find you, my dear.
Yeah, so the easiest way, it's going to be on all the platforms, or it is on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But if you just go to movetheballpodcast.com, you can listen to it directly there, and there are links to all of those other podcasting platforms.
Jennifer Garrett joining me here on the program to talk Move the Ball and how she uses football to move the ball in life, and you can do the same thing. Absolutely great having you on. I got to have you on again soon.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on the show today.
We got more coming up in a smidge.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, folks. So, in case you don't know, football is not over. And I don't mean just because my friend Mike DeBate and I are going to talk the course of the NFL offseason. A new league launched in the form of the XFL. Yes, it is back. And I don't know what the hell's going on. I kid when I say that. I have to bring William Morgan back on the hotline with me. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing today? Thank you for having me again.
Okay. I'll repeat my question with a smile on my face and a very selfish intent to make you laugh. What the hell's going on?
Well, opening day for the new season was yesterday, and it was a little bit smoother than it has been today. I have not seen the the game that kicked it off today, but I'm currently watching the game right now, and it's a tough defensive battle it looks to be.
Yeah.
Look, yesterday we had the DC Defenders defeat my Seattle Dragons 31-19 after all the issues we had yesterday. Oh my goodness. We had issue after issue. But I'm sticking by my team though. You're sticking by
so the Seattle Dragons are your team?
Yes, that's my team. That's where I'm from. And I'm sticking by my team. Then we also had yesterday the Houston Roughnecks behind P.J. Walker, who I call P.J. the Truth Walker. 4 touchdowns. They get a big victory against the L.A. Wildcats, 37-17.
Yep.
So, great day yesterday. There's a lot of different rules that's come down into the XFL this year, and primarily it's geared for all offense. As you can see, if you watched the games yesterday, there were no extra points. You have you can go literally. You can go, if you score a touchdown, you can go for 3. If you're down by 9, you can go for 3.
So you go from the 2-yard line for 1 point, the 5-yard line for 2 points, and the 10-yard line for 3 points. So you can literally make up 18 points in 2 possessions.
Yep.
Okay.
You surely can.
So they kept that. They kept that part of it. They fixed the kickoffs, and I love that. There's no scramble for the kickoff for opening possession anymore. They actually do kick it off. Field goals are still in play, but you need to explain this to me. They actually are going to allow a double forward pass.
Yep.
How?
Yep, and that's part of keeping the game unique, fresh, but it's also there to make sure it's still geared toward the offense in this league as well.
Now, I've seen and have been a part of backward passes that go to a forward pass. How does this double forward pass work?
How does it work?
How does the double? I've never seen it. I've seen so many quarterbacks run across the line of scrimmage, and I've seen an illegal forward pass. The only time I can honestly say that I've seen a double forward pass is in a scramble situation where you're trying to get the ball downfield, just as Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints against your Seahawks in the playoffs. Is that the concept?
Yes, that's the concept of it. And keep in mind too, if you want to, your formations or your player personnel can do whatever. So if you want to take out a tight end and put in another quarterback, you can do that.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
So now you can have two quarterbacks on the field. I've actually seen that happen a couple times. Okay, I had a chance to take a look at the uniforms. True or false? The Tampa Bay Titans, and much respect to them, have
Tampa Bay Vipers.
Vipers. Thank you. The Tampa Bay Vipers have the ugliest damn uniforms I've ever seen in my life.
That's what everybody's saying on Facebook.
I mean, I think the Washington Generals had better uniforms in the USFL than these that I've seen. And I understand them trying to highlight the green. It's a little bit of a USF motif, the University of South Florida motif, but what the hell are those? I mean, this is.
Oh,
wait
man.
a minute. And you know what's bad? I showed my wife a picture of that uniform. She handed the phone right back to me and went, "I don't want to see that ever again." I mean, I know they're trying to. I look. These uniforms are better than some of the uniforms I saw last year in the Alliance of American Football. Let's just get that piece of truth out of the way. Okay?
Yes.
But the Tampa Bay Vipers, you would think they would darken the... And I don't want to make this all about the uniforms because, hey, some of the uniforms I've seen in 2001 left a lot to be desired when the XFL premiered this time.
True that.
But damn. If that's their road uniforms, I'm almost afraid, and I mean this kiddingly, I'm almost afraid to see what the home uniform's like.
Oh man.
But I will say this. These uniforms for the XFL this time around are a lot better than the ones that we saw back in 2001. So are the nicknames, where they put the teams. They concentrated on the big markets. I like how the Seattle Dragons motif is. I like that combination.
Oh, yeah.
Which brings to mind this question, and I believe I know your answer, but I want to be sure I put it out there, and I'm going to make this my question of the day a little bit later on in the show. Can the XFL last beyond one season this time?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I really believe
You're looking at about 2 to 3 years with the money that Vince has put into it. He's put a lot of money into it. Another thing too that I think will make it last 2-3 years is the fact that Vince is no longer running the day to day.
Yes.
That's going to Commissioner Luck.
Yeah.
So he's not running the day to day of the XFL. Who Commissioner Luck is, and I really think this could last. Matter of fact, it may end up being expanded upon because right now you're looking at 8 cities that are major NFL cities, but there's other cities who got left out.
Yeah.
There's no team in Carolina. There's no team in Georgia. So, you know, we can get some of those teams to up this thing to 10. You want to move a team out in Vegas? There you go. So we can definitely do some things in the XFL to definitely last beyond this season.
And you said the most important thing. Vince McMahon is not a part of the day-to-day operation. He just funded the league. He said he's going to put $500 million toward the league, which will give it 3 full seasons. And then he hired a football mind in Oliver Luck. Most of you should know that name, especially in Indianapolis. Okay? Most people should know the name Oliver Luck. I know I certainly do. He hired a football mind. When will the Cleveland Browns ever get this right? He hired a football mind to run the day-to-day operations for this league.
Yes.
So
that's correct.
As of this first weekend, it is poised for success beyond year 1.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So
I believe it would be. I believe it would be a huge success if opening day is any type of an indicator. Today is a little bit sluggish, a little bit slower, but hey, I believe week 2 we'll see some more action.
But you have 2 networks that are behind the XFL now instead of just one. Because if you remember, in 2001 it was all on NBC, and then NBC pulled out because they didn't like the ratings. With ESPN, with ESPN and Fox Sports, which are 2 major networks for the NFL, you got a better outfit this time. I really think you do.
And don't forget, you got your Fox, you got your ESPN, and you also have your ABC. Similar to ESPN, but the same thing. You have 3 major networks versus 2001. You had NBC and UPN and Paramount Network. Yeah. And NBC wasn't ready at that time to really host something like that. That's why they probably pulled out. UPN, wasn't ready. Probably you don't really hear anything from that. I think they got bought out or something like that.
They did. UPN got bought out.
Yeah. So now you have 3 major networks that are putting time and emphasis on this thing. If you watch any Fox programming, particularly early in the morning, like if you watch First Things First, they will actually push these games on that show. Yeah. So that tells you that they are committed to it and want to see it succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do too. This is what I opened the show with. I do too. I want to see this succeed now. And I mentioned this at the top of the program. Oliver Luck being in charge is huge. Vince McMahon staying out of the day-to-day operations, and give kudos to Vince McMahon. He learned his lesson. And unlike the AAF, he took a full 2 years to put this together.
Yep.
He took a full 2 years to put this together. This is William Morgan joining me, talking all things XFL. Stand by, folks. He's going to be back later in the show to talk all things NBA All-Star Game, and I can't wait to bring him back because I got some questions for him. So if you'll hop on later in the show, I'll be glad to have you.
Gotcha, man.
Stand by, folks. I got more for you after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, folks, as we continue to get you through your week. I want to thank you for tuning in on all of our favorite networks, all of our favorite stations, internationally and nationally, and through the Internet. A few years ago, I had a fellow on this program talking about bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I closed that conversation, the next time I wanted to talk to him, I wanted to be in North Carolina. Well, that time has come, and Rick Curdy is back. and he's on the hotline right now. How are you, my friend? Good to talk to you.
Hey there, how are you, Snowman? How's everything going?
Everything is great. I finally made it down here to North Carolina, man.
All right, man.
That was one of the things we had talked about. I wanted to come down here, and then my wife jumped at the opportunity with me, so we're here. How has that movement been going? Because it's been a while since we talked about it.
Yeah, it's been going on strong. You know, we actually have a podcast now called Charlotte Best Baseball and Sports. It's just been growing like crazy. The enthusiasm is so high right now for it. People really want to see it. We got Major League Soccer. We didn't get MLB. We got MLS coming in 2021. So that's a great thing because I think right around the corner is Major League Baseball. So I think Charlotte is showing that we're a great city for professional sports. So we already got the basketball and the football, and now we got the soccer, and we got the hockey in Raleigh, and the only thing we're waiting for is Major League Baseball. So let's bring it on.
Yeah, that's all that's missing. As Rick just mentioned, the Hurricanes are in Raleigh. You got the Carolina Panthers. They play out of Charlotte. Of course, the Charlotte Hornets. Major League Soccer is now in Charlotte. Of course, Major League Baseball would be a godsend for this area because a lot of folks are excited about baseball. In the short time that I've been here, the excitement in talking about Major League Baseball possibly coming to Charlotte, it's been off the charts.
Yeah, it's been through the roof. People are excited. You know, the Knights will be starting soon. Their attendance is one of the highest in all of minor league baseball. It's been since they come to Uptown Charlotte. People want to see it. You know, people are ready to see it, and you know, the only thing holding us up, unfortunately, is the stadiums in Oakland and Tampa, and I just don't understand for the life of me why Tampa's still there. You know, they are a great team, but their fan base stinks. It's been bad since day one, and now I heard this ridiculous thing that Major League Baseball is thinking about splitting the Tampa Bay Rays season in Montreal, which makes absolutely no sense. I don't know how that's going to grow baseball in Florida if you're going to be playing not only in another place, in another country. So I think it's crazy that they want to do that. But, I mean, I think if the Rays don't get a new stadium by 2027 when their lease expires, they are definitely going to move, and it's either they're going to move to Montreal, or they're going to move to Portland, or they're going to move to Charlotte.
And you said the last time I had you on, you know, I had asked you how long will it take for Major League Baseball to come to Charlotte, and you had mentioned something. You said they may try to go back to Montreal first. And I know that report that you're talking about, and it just leads right into what you said the last time you were here, and you just repeated.
Yeah, they want baseball to come back to Montreal, and a lot of people said, well, they had it there and it failed. They were there for 30 years, and to me, it wasn't the people that failed it. It was Jeffrey Loria who failed it. He's the one that, you know, sent them packing and led them eventually to become the Washington Nationals. So it was actually Jeffrey Loria that failed the organization. And you know, when you know your team's leaving, why come to the games? You know, it's just like the Raiders. When the Raider fans knew they were moving to Las Vegas, they just stopped showing up. So eventually, you know, they moved to Washington, and of course, they won the World Series. So the Major League Baseball wants to be more global. They're kind of following the model of basketball and the NFL, where they're playing games in other countries. Major League Baseball just had a series in London. First time they were playing in London. That was pretty wild. And they want to go play games in Mexico and other countries. And, you know, the NBA play games in China. Of course, the NFL plays games in Mexico and London, and now I'm here in Toronto. So that's what Major League Baseball wants to do, and they want to see two teams in Canada, so, and have a nice rivalry with Montreal and Toronto. So it's inevitable. Montreal's coming back. The Expos name's coming back, but they always expand by two. So the question is, who's going to join Montreal? Is it going to be Montreal Charlotte, Montreal Portland, Montreal Nashville? Or it could be any of those 6 cities that they have on the list.
And they want to follow the same pattern of the NBA in growing by 2. I know I've asked this before, and I'm going to keep asking it, and I've gotten so many great answers. What would be the biggest selling point of bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina?
Well, we already have the football. We already have the basketball. That was one of the reasons why Commissioner Manfred put Charlotte on the list, because they have already proven they can support professional sports. To me, our biggest selling point is not only do we have so many transplants, not only do we have the money here with all the banks out here, but we also have another state next door to us in South Carolina, and South Carolina does not have any professional sports. They have the Gamecocks, they have Clemson, and they have the Columbia Fireflies for a minor league baseball team. That is it. They're going to have a Panther headquarters out there very soon. That's it. There's no professional sports in South Carolina, and a lot of, there's a reason to call the Carolina Panthers, because it's North and South Carolina, and we could do the same thing with our baseball team. We have a lot of passionate fans in South Carolina, all the way in Rock Hill and Fort Mill, Columbia, South Carolina. Even Charleston, they come all the way from Charleston or all over South Carolina, come to Charlotte and watch a baseball game. So I think that's our biggest selling point that we have that the other cities don't have. We have a sister state that's next door, so we are literally 2 states in one.
Let's reiterate something. When the Panthers were founded, when the Panthers were granted a franchise, and a lot of people seem to forget this because they've had their base in Charlotte for so many years, they played their inaugural season at Clemson, in Clemson, South Carolina. So that got the buzz going about the Carolina Panthers in both states.
Yep, that's what they're doing, and David Tepper is really putting emphasis on really calling the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure he wants to get a new stadium built one day. And I heard he wants to put a retractable roof at the Bank of America. Right now they're modifying it for Major League Soccer right now. So I think it's inevitable he'll want to get a brand new stadium. And I keep hearing rumors that might be built near Carowinds on the North and South Carolina border, if that's where they want to move it. We don't know. It's just speculation. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think that's the big draw for North Carolina, is that we have South Carolina next door, and we have so many transplants. Nobody's from Charlotte. I'm not. I'm from Los Angeles. I meet people here from New York and Yankee fans. I meet, Dodger fans. I meet Red Sox fans. I meet well, a lot of people are from Florida who are, Miami Marlins fans and so forth and so forth. So that's another big draw for us, is that we have so many transplants here. And our minor league baseball team is one of the top attendance at all of minor league baseball. And we already got the professional sports. So it's not, if we get it, it's when we get it. And my question is why Charlotte has never had it.
Yeah, and it's so wild that Charlotte has never had Major League Baseball, and for the longest time it wasn't even considered. I had thought, for a long time it would be such a boon for Major League Baseball to come to North Carolina.
Yeah, we only have the true team from the South we have is the Atlanta Braves. We have the Florida Marlins, and you got the Astros and the Rangers, but if you want to talk about the true South, it's Georgia, and that's it. There's no teams in Tennessee. There's no Major League Baseball teams in Virginia. Our closest team is 4.5 hours in Smyrna, Georgia, with the Braves, and the second closest team we have is in Washington, D.C. with the Nationals. So you have all that open market with Virginia, all that open market with Tennessee, and it's just sitting there. The potential is great because because we can get all those fans from the other states. So it's just perfect. And like I said, I would be shocked if Major League Baseball didn't pick North Carolina. They've been, kind of ignoring North Carolina for a while, and it's just, you can't ignore it because the numbers are there, the draw is there, and it'd be a great rivalry with Atlanta, and you can have all those open markets with Virginia and all those open markets in South Carolina and all those open markets in Tennessee, and we're nowhere near another market. 4.5 hours there and 9.5 hours there, so it's perfect.
It is perfect, and if you go all along the Atlantic coast, and just to reiterate a point that you just brought up a moment ago, all along the Atlantic coast, the further North Atlantic you got the Washington Nationals, the defending world champions, and you got the Baltimore Orioles. If you come down the Atlantic, the furthest you go, you have Atlanta, and then you have Miami, and of course Tampa Bay, but nothing in between there, nothing in Virginia, Kentucky, or Tennessee, or of course the Carolinas. So you got vacationers sitting right there looking for something to do, which doesn't involve driving to Atlanta, which doesn't involve driving to New Orleans. You got that whole Atlantic coast area wide open.
Exactly. And I think Major League Baseball needs more teams in the South. We have a ton of teams on the West Coast. We have tons of teams in the East Coast. The only market that's not really expanded anywhere is the South, which is Georgia, Florida, Texas, and that's it. And North Carolina would be perfect, and really North and South Carolina would be perfect because we'll be representing 2 states. So it's just, to me, it's just inevitable that Major League Baseball will come to North Carolina.
I think it's inevitable also. Rick Curdy joining me, join his movement of bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a staunch supporter of it. Now being a Carolina resident, I want y'all to get behind this movement also. Tell everybody where they can join the movement, and tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Well, you can check out our website. We have a petition on there at www.charlottebats.com. We're on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. We're also on Facebook at Charlotte Bats, and we're also on LinkedIn at Charlotte Bats. So we're Charlotte Bats everywhere. We're also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and you can just contact me at charlottebatsbaseball@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to join our movement, we're actually looking for interns to help promote. So come aboard, and love to hear from you, and let's all do this together.
Let's make this happen. Let's make the Charlotte Bats happen, folks. Rick Curdy joining me. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it. And I'll put this out there. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, Snowman. Congrats on your wedding.
Appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We got more stuff for you. Hang tight. I'll be back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
Holy on snow!
where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
Welcome back inside of Marquette Catholic High School here in Michigan City. Folks, be ready. Blazer Nation is on the way beginning in August. You'll hear all of the exciting action here at Marquette Catholic, and that's why we're here to promote them. And I mentioned at the top of the show that I may have a surprise. I do have a surprise. This gentleman was drafted by the Detroit Pistons. He was then traded to the Atlanta Hawks, where I first got to see him play, wearing the old number 53. And of course, anyone in Chicago remembers him spending a couple of years with the Chicago Bulls and won 2 championships. And an all-around good guy, nicknamed Good News. He joins me right now. Cliff Livingston sitting here.
What's going on? Well, I'm doing great. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, my friend. How you been? How's it been going for you?
Oh, I've been doing good. I've been busy as a beaver. I'm coaching up in Rochester, New York, and now I'm home for a minute to get work with the basketball camps and work with the kids here in the neighborhood. But I just been basketball.
It doesn't stop, does it?
No, it doesn't. I was just at the summer league up in Las Vegas, and looking at about 500 kids. So because I'm coaching up in Rochester, New York in the PBL, so I'm just trying to work on getting my team together now.
Is it different transitioning from a player to a coach?
It's a big difference. I mean, playing is one thing. You see things on the floor, but on the sideline, you're watching a lot more things going on. You're watching the guys on the floor. You're watching your plays. You're watching the timing of how the game is going. It's a lot more entail when you're sitting on the sideline calling the shots.
It is different from being a player to being a coach. You've played with both Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan, two Hall of Famers, and Isaiah Thomas. What was that like? You didn't know it at the time. What was it like playing with 3 Hall of Famers in your career? What was that like?
Well, it's the difference between all of the guys you just mentioned is the work ethic. A lot of people say, I hear a lot of guys talking about, well, I'm going to be, I got to save it for the game. I got to save it for the game. Well, with Michael, it was no saving for the game. He did it in practice. Everything he did was getting ready for the game. His whole mental approach for the game was, I'm going to practice the things I want to do in the game in practice. So when the game time comes around, that I can see those situations and be ready for those situations. And then on top of that, when you got your all-star practicing every day with you, you get your continuity and your rhythm. And a lot of people don't understand that in a basketball, it's about rhythm. Whoever can have the best rhythm and sustain the rhythm for the longest usually win the ball games.
Talking with Cliff Levingston here inside the afternoon locker room, and you mentioned something that a lot of my friends mentioned to me about Michael's work ethic being absolutely off the charts. And it's so true, and I know it's a message that you want to get to the kids here. Whatever you do in practice, translates into the game. How do you get that message to the kids and get them to understand that that's what it takes?
Well, as a coach, I always preach, whoever practice hard is the one who's going to play the most minutes. And I'm a firm believer. You earn all your minutes in practice. If you're just sloughing off in practice, how can I count on you in a game to finish the game for me? If, I can't count on you for practice to finish practice for me, I know I can't count on you for the game, and the game is what it's all about.
Right.
So, I'm a firm believer. You practice hard, you play hard, easy. When I was with the Bulls, when we got into the game time, it wasn't about if we were going to win or lose. It was how much we were going to win by. Because in practice, we practiced all out, and we kept scoring practice. So if you're keeping score in practice every day, he's got 3 up on me right now. I got to get 1. I got to get back up in the game. Got to make sure I'm in the game. So in the game time, when the game comes, the game is easier because, first of all, in practice, all the guys, your own plays. You know where guys are going to be. So if you're pushing each other hard in practice, when you go against the guys in the game, they don't quite know exactly what you're going to do in the game.
Exactly.
So it becomes easier. Now you can work on other things, your defense. You can work on your rebounding. You can work on your boxing out. You can stay focused on the game a little more. I tell my games, it's a game within the game. Once you understand that, it doesn't seem like, well, what a game within the game within the game. That don't make much sense. Well, there's a game. You got the game, the basketball game. Then you got the game of playing against your man. Then you got a game against the numbers, what you're trying to obtain. So it's the game within the game within the game.
It really is. And having those 3 levels, and 3 levels of understanding is very important, especially when it comes to basketball being one of the greatest team sports to play. And I asked you about your experience of playing with MJ and with Dominique and Isaiah, and you mentioned the work ethic being there and having all that in practice and getting the message out to the kids. I know this is a redundant question, but I'm going to ask it, but I want the kids to understand that are tuning in. How important is it to take what you do every day on or off the floor into your lifestyle?
Basketball, you can relate basketball to anything in the world, anything you do in life. Whether you're working a sales job, whether you're working a job where you have a team everybody working on their part. Basketball's the same way. Sales is basically going out, being aggressive, and making things happen. Same thing with basketball. You go out, you're playing defense. You're trying to make things happen so you can get the ball back. you have a team project. Well, basketball the same way. In order to get the ball from one end of the floor down to the other end of the floor, sometimes you have to pass it to another player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're working on team building skills, basically everyone has their projects to do. You do your project, he does his project, she does hers, and we come together. We have a whole finished product. It's just like basketball. Basketball's a quarter. This quarter leads to this quarter. The next quarter leads to the next quarter. The fourth quarter, and at the end of the game, you see who won. So
the fourth quarter is the finish.
Right, and once you put everything together, then you have a finished project. Same thing with like I said, team building skills. You have to work together. You know, you were talking about Michael and Dominique and Isaiah. The only difference between the three of them were Michael worked the hardest in practice. And what I mean by that is not just going in practice. He would play 40 minutes a game, and then the next day he comes in full practice. Whereas playing with Dominique and Isaiah, if they play 40 minutes in practice, they're going to sit out the next practice because they don't want to get their bodies tired and everything. But Michael was the epitome of a workhorse. He knew how to work and get the best out of his body. He conditioned his body to work, play 40 minutes in the game, come the next day in practice just as hard as he did in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That'd get him ready for the next game. You know, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to wear my body out. Well, you know what? You wear your body out when you don't push your body. When you push your body and make your body work, that's when you really see the work that you put in.
And let me ask you this, a couple fun questions for you. What was your favorite arena to play in, and what was your least favorite arena to play in?
Well, my favorite arena to play in, believe it or not, was Boston Garden. It was an old, raggedy, crickety arena, but it had a lot of character. When you walked in it, you can feel the guys of the past who've been on that floor, the championships that was won in there. I mean, it was one of those arenas that had so much character in it. You enjoy playing in arenas like that. My least favorite, I would say, was Richfield Arena in Cleveland.
Richfield Coliseum.
Richfield Coliseum was in Cleveland. It was just so dark, gloomy,
and it was in the middle of
nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. They're called the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they were playing in Richfield, and I didn't understand that either.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, I think it was playing in the cornfields of Ohio, because it was in the middle of nothing was around there.
Nothing was around there.
You know, you finished the game. You finished the game. It was like, okay, where are we going to get something to eat at?
Right.
where are we going to go to do anything? You know, so it was those were my two least favorite.
It's one of those kind of times, one of those kind of stadiums where like, okay, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here now,
right?
Because if something jumps up out of the cornfields, you don't know what's going to.
You don't know what's going to happen.
And I made a trip to Sacramento one year, and Arco Arena is the same
way.
situation.
But you know what, though? But see, the Arco Arena was a lot of energy in that building.
There is.
And that's why you like playing in Arco Arena. It was loud. The people were right on top of you, and you can appreciate buildings like that.
How much fun was it to play in the old Chicago Stadium?
Now, that building right there, probably in the playoffs, I mean, I remember in the playoffs, in the finals, in the first finals, it was so eerie walking in the building, because when you walk in the building, your hairs on the back of your neck start standing up.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so much electricity from the fans, and the fans probably were the loudest I've ever been in the arena, because.
And that was the first NBA Finals.
That was the very first one, and I remember. I mean, I remember walking in that building, and all the hairs on my back of my neck and my arms just stood straight up, and it was like, wow, what the heck just happened? Something touched me. Something did something, you know.
It's the aura of Chicago Stadium. And the Bulls making their first trip to the finals.
First trip to the finals, but you know, it was more the fans that really lifted everyone up. I mean,
the
fans
place was electric.
That
place was electric.
You know, when they did the introductions, you know, even the players, we could not hear ourselves, and we're standing next to each other.
Right.
Once they said, you know, John Pax, and that was it. You couldn't hear nothing else from that point on.
And you wouldn't either.
It was Michael. You know, but we're standing next to each other. We're trying to figure out. Okay, all right, okay. Oh yeah, we cheer now. Look, all right, let's go to the huddle. Let's go.
And the thing is, you won't even hear if you're at the stadium. You won't even hear from North Carolina.
No, you don't hear that
because it was so loud. The only reason that I would hear it watching on television.
Yeah, on television you can hear it.
They had the microphone pointed at Ray Clay.
Yeah, so it was like I said. You know, those buildings were just. Those old buildings were so electrifying, and you know the new buildings are beautiful. They're nice,
but they're not
aesthetically pleasing. But they're just not.
They're just not the same. They're just not the same arenas, and that's a point that I've made to a lot of people. A place that you call home, the Omni, in Atlanta.
The Omni was a great, but now, like I said, it's just they're massive, and then it's more the way they're built. They're more built going outwards opposed to up. The old stadiums was up, and everything was like right on top of you.
When you played at the Omni, and I had a chance to see it, it's like you said, they're built up. The stands were just built up, and it's just like one long mezzanine.
Oh my gosh!
The Omni held 16,000 people in there, but it felt louder than that.
Oh.
being in there.
Well, when you have, if you think about it, when you have a tighter space, going up opposed to going out,
right?
Sound is just all over the place there. But when it goes out, it's just going everywhere, and it's a long way to bounce back to come back. Sound waves have a long way to get back to you.
And I have to ask this: when you saw MJ with his 35-point first half performance, when you guys were sitting there watching this happen, and you back to an earlier point, you knew what was going to happen because you saw it in practice.
Yeah.
You saw him put this much effort into practice, but to see it manifest itself 10 times over, in game 1 of the 92 final, what was that like, seeing that performance happen in the first half?
Well, Michael was one of those rare creatures. I mean, it's like he's seen the game before. He played the game and seen the game before it was even there. Watching him going through a game, it's like you see where it's going before it's going because you've seen it in practice.
Yes.
It's like, okay, he's heating up. You better watch out. Somebody's going to get roasted.
And then that was you with the towel.
Oh, yeah.
When he's waving around saying he is hot, and he was.
Well, you know what? When he gets on, it's like nobody can do that to him. It's almost like when a big forest fire gets raging. It's going to go until it has nothing else to burn up. Then it burns itself out.
And then you can tell you can tell when he hits that one jumper and he knows he's turned on because he'll start chirping on defense, getting everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, Mike is one of those guys who was really pumped up by his defense. When he gets his defense going, his offense is one step behind it. Is one step behind it because he's going to play defense just as hard as he play offense, if not harder. And a lot of people don't give him credit for his defense, but his defense, I mean, he's won defensive play. He's been on all defensive teams before, and people don't recognize that.
And he also was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. But, just being an offensive player, that's what everybody remembers him by. But Mike was one of those guys who he wanted to win at all costs. He's going to do whatever he had to do to win. If it costs him to play better defense, he's going to play better defense and win. Whereas with Dominique, his philosophy for defense is more offense. So and that's the difference.
Different.
Yeah, it's completely different. You say, Nick, hey, we got to win. Okay, I just put more offense up.
And the thing, and I'll bring it back to the point that you said. Defensively, Michael was a beast.
He was a beast.
He was an absolute beast because, and I'll say it again, and I've seen it so many times, and I know you've seen it so many times. If he hits that one jumper that knows that's going to get him going, when he starts trotting back on defense and he's directing everybody and chirping and getting everybody going, you know he was getting ready to take off.
You can see right when he's getting ready to make that next move. It's like, okay, all right, he's going to go to that next level. You better hold on, or you're going to get left behind. Either you hold on and get left behind, or you're going to get rolled over, one of the two. So, so he takes the team and he takes everyone with him on that ride. And he wants, and that's why he's such a competitor with his players. A lot of people says, sometimes he can be arrogant, he can be mean, he gets up in your face. Well, he gets up in your face because he's telling you what he wants.
Right.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to be here when I make this move. In case I get caught, I know where you are. And a lot of people don't understand that. He's going to get that ball to the person he needs to get the ball to because he's such a creator, and everyone's going to run to him, and he just want to make sure that when he makes his move that you're right there when he needs you to dump that ball off and finish.
What was it like, last question, what was it like when the final horn sounded in the Forum in 1991 and you guys realized you just won a world championship? What was that feeling like?
Honestly, I thought it was another quarter. You think it's still going because you're not supposed to beat the Lakers. Especially in the Forum. So it was like, did we just beat the Lakers? We just beat them. We beat them.
3 straight games you beat them there.
Yeah, and the funny part about that is the first game we played, we were in uncharted waters. Everyone didn't really know what to expect, and I remember we went to overtime and lost with Perkins hitting shots.
Yep.
And I went in the locker room and said, yeah, all right, good game, fellas, good game. We lost them. Let's beat them. Let's sweep them.
Right.
Michael,
you got the first one.
Well, Michael walked up to me and said, Cliff, you got to win the first one to sweep them.
Yep.
Well, let's win the next 4. And then we went out to L.A. and we won the next 4.
Yep.
So, it was one of those things that we knew we could beat L.A. after we went to the wall with them and we didn't play our best game.
Yeah.
So it was only, okay, fellas, let's go ahead and do this right here, because we knew we had them after that point on.
And game 2 was the most pivotal game of that series when you blew them out.
We blew them out, and then we went to L.A. the first game, beat them in the first game in L.A.
And that one was the big one when you came back from 13 down,
yes,
and you beat them in overtime.
Right, because what happened was the starters wasn't playing well, and the second unit came in, and the second unit got us the momentum going, and then it's like, Michael, if you get it going, don't worry about it. That black cat gonna take over. He gonna take you to the next level.
What was it like playing under Phil Jackson?
Phil was, at first I wasn't sure about Phil because my first year there, I was playing a lot, and then second part of the season he wasn't playing me as much. And I was upset because I thought, he was holding me back because I had an option year on my contract. So, I went to Phil, and I told Phil, what's going on? First I was playing a lot, and I'm not playing no more. Is it because of my option on my contract? You guys not trying to play? He said, no, Cliff, no. I said, well, I feel it's, you guys not trying to honor my option. That's why you're not playing. He said, no. Then he sat me down. He opened up papers, and his file, and he said, see, we're playing against West Coast teams. You're a banger. You play more against the East Coast teams. And it made sense. So I was like, oh, okay. So, he showed me he knows his players, when they play well, who they play well against, and how to play them. And I gained a lot of respect for him. And then when we came in the finals, his thing was, I know we're playing against a West Coast team, and he said, I need somebody to stop Worthy. I need somebody. I said, I want to do it. Let me do it. He gave me the opportunity to go out there and, be able to control and contain Worthy, and I did that, and that changed a lot of the momentum of the game because, at that time Worthy was really killing us, and he needed somebody to slow Worthy down and stop him, and I got a chance to be part of stopping him, and I think I did a very good job to help us obtain that first championship.
Cliff Livingston joined me here on the Afternoon Locker Room, and there will be a replay of this interview, trust me, but it was a pleasure, my friend.
It is my pleasure, my pleasure. You're quite welcome.
Thank you for coming by, and, he's mentioned something that is so true about the old arenas being where it's at.
Yes.
Okay. Before even it was called the Great Western Forum, you had the Forum.
The Forum.
You had the Spectrum in Philadelphia. You had the Boston Garden.
You had the Madison Square Garden.
You had Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena.
Yes.
And you had places like that teams called home, and you knew coming in, especially when you're on the road, you knew coming in what you were up against.
Well, and you missed one other arena. Was the Mile High Stadium.
McNichols Arena in Denver.
Arena in Denver.
Oh,
that was another one. That was another hard arena to play in. But let me tell you one story before I leave. It was I was at the Atlanta Hawks playing against Boston Celtics, and it's funny because I was just in Las Vegas and I ran into an old teammate of mine, and we started talking about this game. His name is Walker D. Russell. So we were playing against Boston Celtics in New Orleans, and we had 12 games. Ted Turner sold his buddy 12 games in New Orleans for us to play in New Orleans for 12 games, and I think we played 3 or 4 of them was against Boston Celtics. Well, Boston Celtics, we were playing them that it was, I think it was a Saturday night, and no, it was a Friday night, and we had just McHale had just had 58 points. And then Bird put in the paper, well, whoever we play next, I'm going to get 60. Well, Atlanta Hawks was the team we played. I swear, everything Bird touched went in. I mean, he was on fire. I played him. Dominique Wilkins played him. Antoine Carr played him. Sly Williams played him. We all played him.
Did y'all
Ricky
have
Brown.
John Battle at the time?
No, John Brown was no. And that, so everybody played him. And I'll never forget, it was myself, Ricky Brown, Walker D. Russell, and Sly Williams, who's on. No, it wasn't Sly Williams. Yeah, Sly Williams was on the sideline. Antoine Carr ran out of Bird and fouled him, knocked him into our trainer's lap. I got up, waving the towel. We were high-fiving each other on the sideline. Well, we didn't know the camera was facing our bench.
Yes.
So, well, next day we flew into Indianapolis. No, we flew into Indianapolis, and Mike Patella said, I want to see you guys down at in my room after you set your bags down. Me, Walker D. Russell, Ricky Brown. No, it was me, Walker D. Russell. You have Ricky Brown, and it was Eddie Johnson. So we went to his room, and we watching the film. We still elbowing each other. We watching the tape. We elbowing each other, laughing. And he said, "This guy is kicking our tail, and you guys over here giving high five. Look at this. Look at this." He running. He going back and forth. He said, "It's gonna cost each one of y'all $500." I thought it was 100, but Walker D said no, it was 500 because he said it hurt him the worst because he wasn't on guaranteed contract, so it hurt him the worst. But I thought it was always $100. I know. I walked out of the room and said, "Man, that was the best $500 seat I had ever had." But I mean, Bird. When I say on fire, I mean I've never seen anybody shoot the ball that well. I mean, everything he touched went in. It was one of those unbelievable games, and to this day, I think I've caught 3 or 4 of Bird's 60-point games.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cliff Levingston joining me here. Thank you very much, my friend, for the time. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
I very well appreciate it. When we come back,
this is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
Now I want to welcome a fellow who just premiered his show yesterday, Monday, and I'm having fun listening to it. I mean, he does great work, and he's also a play-by-play announcer, so a man after my own heart. This is Desmond Johnson, and he joins me right now. DJ, how are you doing, my friend?
Good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You got to tell me how the rundown happened. Tell me how that came to be.
Really, we just had our second year anniversary Monday, January the 20th. Back in the end of 2017, I'm here in the Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem area, and there's only one sports radio cluster here, and that's WSGS Sports Hub. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was doing some high school football for them a little bit here and there, but radio has kind of just been in my blood since college. And I've kind of gone away from it, came back, gone away from it, came back. And somewhere along that year, I decided I was just going to go full force in the radio. So I started working at IMG College doing studio hosting for Charlotte, their football and basketball teams during the season through IMG. And got a little bit more of a taste, with all that and everything. So one of the guys that worked over there by the name of Kyle Schatzberger, he's actually the studio host for Duke. He was also at the same time the programming director at WSJS. So he invited me to start coming onto his show that he was running in the afternoons, like once a month, like on Thursdays when he was on remote. So I was doing that for a little bit. And then towards the end of the year, I've been pitching an idea to do a show, like a Saturday morning show that would be more of a panel format, kind of like, like LeBron James show, The Shop.
Yes.
That was kind of the general idea that we pitched, where it was like we want to do kind of like a barbershop setting, but it would be scripted and it would be with stuff that had gone on during the week, and then getting the listeners ready for what was about to happen after we went off the air on during the weekend. So we pitched that to them, negotiated with them. They decided to let us come on board, and it became an hour-long Saturday morning show from 10 to 11 on Saturdays. For the first year. After we got to the first year, we expanded to 2 hours, and we were on. And during that time, I became the programming director and picked back up high school football again. So I was doing a lot of different things. I was producing the afternoon show that they have now, that they relaunched. And due to budget cuts, I was let go in November of this past year, 2019. But we had already been doing some stuff freelancing on our own. And we'd had a couple of terrestrial stations call or, inquire about the rundown, and we thought about moving it to a different station. But in the end, for me, it was more of a no-brainer to say, why don't we just skip traditional radio entirely and go to where everybody listens to their stuff today anyway, which is on their hip, it's in their pocket, their phone, and it's less expensive. If you know what you're doing, you can still produce a quality show that way. And we decided to go that route, and that was back in November when we decided to go that route. And today, well, not today, but yesterday, Monday, was the season premiere of the Rundown with Desmond Johnson, and we're technically on a bigger platform than ever, and we're just enjoying what we're doing.
Something, you and I share a very common denominator: skip the middleman and go to the masses. Where'd you go to school?
I'm a proud Spartan. I graduated from UNC Greensboro in 2003 from their media studies department.
Love it. I used to live in Greensboro back in 1995, 1996, so I'm familiar with the Greensboro Coliseum, the ACC tournament, and everything around there. That was my first taste of North Carolina.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, now that we're talking shop, and who do you cover to do play-by-play for?
We were doing high school football for East Forsyth, which I'm alma mater to here in Kernersville. I graduated from there in '96, and they have one of the better football programs in the entire state. They're back-to-back 4A state champs. They just won in December over Cardinal Gibbons out of Raleigh, and they're two-time defending state champions. They're right here under our nose in Kernersville. I'm alumni. Rod Funderburk, who does the rundown with me, he does color commentary with that as well. And originally we had him on SJS. I pitched it to the station to run all of East Forsyth's season, and I was like, it's a no-brainer. We're in Kernersville. They're in Kernersville. It's right down the street. They haven't lost a game in like 2 years or whatever. And when you're looking for somebody to cover in high school football, they're right here. And it was like pulling teeth, to be honest, to get them to commit to do just East Forsyth. And then when they let me go in November, literally the first thing I did when I walked out of the building was contact the athletic director at East Forsyth and negotiated out a deal for my media company to exclusively carry the rest of East Forsyth's schedule and into the playoffs, which they gladly did. And then, luckily for me, they made it all the way to the state championship and won. And from that, we kind of brokered a deal where next year, we'll be the exclusive provider for East Forsyth football as they go for 3, in Class 4A in North Carolina. So we're super excited about that too.
What's been the biggest challenge for you since you've stepped out on your own?
This isn't the first time I've stepped out on my own. I've done some things in the past, like I used to run a digital marketing service back in the day and some other things. But I think the most challenging thing is making sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Like I learned a lesson from the last time I did this, that the people I had around me, they weren't aligned with my goals or what I wanted. So when this happened this time and I found myself in a situation where I could kind of choose what I wanted to do, it was really more of a sign of relief, because now it's like, okay, I've been pushing off things I've been wanting to do for the sake of the station. And now I'm not there with them, but they just unknowingly trained me on how to do everything in the station over the past year, from sales to programming to promo, on air. I was doing everything for them. So when I left, I felt more comfortable about options to do things on my own. And so now there's some things I have in the works with netcastsports.com. They're an online provider of like AAU, prep sports, semi-pro things. And we've been working loosely already. So they're on board. They're actually are one of our partners with the Rundown in terms of getting it out, social media wise and producing it on that end. And then just making sure I had people around me that had specific roles and knew what they were doing and were good at it, and actually have that this time around. So it makes it more where there's a lot more open opportunities than there would have been if this had happened to me 2 or 3 years ago. Like we just expect to grow and grow through the year.
Can I just throw my hat in the ring to be a part of this party? Because I'm having fun doing this show, and it's great meeting you and talking to you. As I said at the top of this hour, the toughest thing for me, the biggest fear factor for me, was getting over my fear of doing sales rather. And I'm starting to feel that confidence again. But what I want to do is I told my wife this several hundred times over, and she believes in me every day that I said it and say it every time that I say it. I want to turn this into my full-time paycheck, not just doing my show, but doing play-by-play. And then I meet you, and you and I start talking, and you start talking about distributing not only this show but the other shows that I have in the works under Snowman Digital Media, and my eyes light up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing that while I was at WSGS, I started doing this podcast network. I own SportsCarolinaMonthly.com, which is basically a 24-hour regional website that focuses on ACC Big Four, the Hornets, the Panthers, NASCAR, Hurricanes, anything that's Central North Carolina related, prep sports. We handle it there. But over the past year or so, we started doing more and more things audio-wise, like with podcasting and producing podcasts and inviting people on who are already doing podcasts to come onto the network. So there's everything from, we were doing a coach's show for the East Forsyth head coach every week. We have a racing podcast that's dedicated to Bowman Gray Stadium out in Winston-Salem, who have a very rabid, devoted fan base of 19,000 people that are sitting there every Saturday during the season. And, that podcast did extremely well.
Yeah.
I have contributors from IMG and from, guys that love WWE that do a podcast, and it turned into something pretty cool. And I realized, well, hell, we can actually do this, on a larger scale, which by the spring, we're actually looking at building an online digital, sports radio network that would include these podcasts and things like your show, like Snowman in the Morning and stuff like that, where we'd have a full-fledged schedule going on. The sales thing, it's funny you mentioned that because I come from sales. I don't particularly care to do it. I'd rather be producing content.
Same here. I agree with that one, man.
The key with that I've learned is to find people that can sell.
Yes.
That you can kind of toss some content their way and they'll go sell it for you. And that's what I've kind of done this time around, was to make sure I had a couple of guys that could actually go sell. And then I still have to go out and do it myself. That's just the nature of being, self-employed. But that's probably the most daunting thing is the sales thing, because that's a relationship you have to build with businesses over time before they'll give you money. And the content has to be good. Like, all that comes hand in hand.
It really does. It really does. Desmond Johnson, the man in charge of Sports Carolina Monthly, joining me, and also the host of The Rundown. It's a fantastic show, folks. I encourage you to check it out if you log on to SportsCarolinaMonthly.com. I will be a faithful listener, just like I hope you'll be a faithful listener of Snowman in the Morning, and I can't wait to get this show on Sports Carolina Monthly, and I mean that.
Yeah, and for anyone that wants to check out The Rundown, it's live, noon to 1 p.m. During the week. Right now we're Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but eventually that'll go to 5 days a week. It's basically a great way to spend your lunch. It doesn't take very long to get to it. You can either go to Sports Carolina Monthly's Facebook or Twitter, or you can go to Netcast Sports Facebook or Twitter, and there's a live player embedded into the news feed. So even if you don't go to our website, if you just follow us on social media and the player pops up in your news feed, just hit the little speaker button and boom, you're already in there. Today's episode's already up there. And the podcast portion of it will be on Spotify, Google Play, Apple, iTunes, and whatnot. Here real shortly, actually, I'm in the middle of working on it right now, and that'll be posted every day as well. It's just
beautiful.
A recap of what's going on in sports, and what's going on, and just a couple of guys basically in there discussing what's been happening.
Yep. And like I said, I can't wait to put this show on your podcast network, my man. Make the audience even bigger. Make the audience even bigger.
Yeah. Looking forward to it, man, for sure.
Looking forward to it as well. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
Pause for a break. Got more stuff for you after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
Holy on slow!
where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
You wrestling fans recognize this music I got playing in the background? Well, that music, the Self High Five, can only belong to one man and one man only. He has worked with the likes
of Goldberg, with Sting, with Hulk Hogan, and anybody that's watched WCW knows that when you hear this music and this man coming through the crowd, it can only be one person, and I am so thrilled to have him on Snowman in the Morning right now, the one, the only, Diamond Dallas Page. Good morning, sir. I am so thrilled to have you on, my friend.
Where is the 219 area? Where are you guys at?
We're based out of Chicago, but the 219 code is Northwest Indiana.
Oh, okay. But you guys are based out of Chicago. Okay. That's
yeah.
Cool. We're going to be there pretty soon. So
yes, you cool. are, and I can't wait, man. I mean, how are things going for you?
Oh, it's going great. You know, we right now we're in the process of opening up the DDP Yoga Performance Center here in Smyrna, Georgia, which is just right on the tip of Atlanta, Georgia, and it's the first DDP Yoga Performance Center that's ever been done, because it's more of a production studio, where we produce not just all our workouts, but cooking shows and stuff, DDP Yoga for kids, and we developed this app that's coming out, that's an interactive subscription app that will be out right on Black Friday. We're going to introduce it, which is our 4-year anniversary. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was just in the at the PC. He came in to do some of what he's calling Austin bootlegs, and he did a podcast with myself. He did one with Jake Snake Roberts. He did one with Scott Hall, and primarily he was talking about their careers, but mainly the movie, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, which people can get tickets to right now in Chicago and in Woodridge, I believe it's called. We're about to get in the music box. I'm going to talk to Ryan today about setting up a meet and greet with myself and Jake and possibly Scott Hall as well, and we'll be showing the movie The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, which is getting amazing reviews. Anybody wants to know, where we're coming to in their area, or where they can see the movie, or eventually get the VOD, video on demand, or DVDs, will all be at JakeTheSnakeMovie.com. That's JakeTheSnakeMovie.com. You go there and sign up and get on our mailing list, and then you'll know when we're coming to that area.
What gave you and your folks the idea for that movie?
Well, it was pretty documented that Jake had fallen from grace in the movie Beyond the Mat, and I mean they had Jake doing crack and all sorts of things in there. It was no way for people's heroes to go down, and Jake is an admitted addict. He's addicted to to booze, to pills, to cocaine, to crack, and Jake Roberts helped me throughout my career. I always say, without Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. He gave me every break that ever meant anything, but Jake Snake Roberts is the guy who helped me become a 3-time world champion, a main eventer, and that was because he took me under his wing and he mentored me in my ring work, and it made a big difference in what happened in my career. So I always wanted to pay him back, and I knew he was pretty low, about as low as you can go, and I just reached out to him because I've had such success with my DDP Yoga with my DDP Yoga program that that I decided to shut that door, honey, please. Shut that door. Got a bunch of people in my house today. I've had such incredible results from the disabled veteran. I helped walk again. Lose 140 pounds in 10 months. More importantly, he lost his knee braces, his back brace, and wraparound canes, not just to walk but run. So that's my go-to video when I want to show people what's possible. And Jake I didn't even think he was as beat up and broken down as he was when we got there. He was over 300 pounds. He couldn't get out of a chair. He couldn't get into a chair. He couldn't go to the ground. He was really, really beat up. And, that's what drugs and, not working out and not taking care of yourself will do as you get older. It's called old age, along with, one time, Jake was, like a Ferrari. He had, 1.5 million miles on him, so, long story short, I wanted to show people that what was possible. And I didn't know if anybody would ever even see the resurrection of Jake the Snake, the documentary, because it only works if there's a resurrection. If he doesn't resurrect his, who he was to where he is today, that doesn't mean anything. But he did, and we documented everything, all of the the ups and the downs, that come through this journey in a 93-minute movie is pretty amazing.
The one and only Diamond Dallas Page joining me here. He joins us via the U.S. Tire and Auto Hotline, talking the resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts and other things. And, I am a big fan of yours, my friend. I'm a fan of you and how you performed. Of course, the Diamond Cutter. You gotta talk to me about the match that you had with the Mailman Karl Malone and then against Hulk Hogan and Rodzilla. I never got a chance to watch that one live. I've only seen clips of it, but how much fun was it with that kind of match?
Well, it was fun because I was friends with Karl Malone, and people who don't know Karl Malone played for Utah Jazz. You need to know that Karl Malone was the second leading scorer right today.
Right.
Jabbar is the only man, and Jabbar played until he was 40.
Mm-hmm.
And another guy who did yoga. Jabbar worked with a friend of mine named Brian Kest, and that's one of the reasons why Jabbar lasted so long.
Right.
7-footers don't last that long.
Mm-hmm.
But ones the ones that do any kind of yoga will have a lot longer shelf life. And, I developed DDP yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga, because I was that guy. But back to Karl, he's the second leading scorer of all time in the NBA, and probably had the strongest work ethic maybe ever in the NBA. And I had that work ethic in the WCW in wrestling, and that's why we got together, because we appreciated each other's work ethic. And then I actually came up with the idea when I heard that Rodman was coming back into WCW, for his little thing like he did the year before.
Right.
And I went over to Bischoff's house and I said, what if it was me and Karl Malone against Rodman and Hogan? And I know that win or lose, they're going to end up on the Tonight Show.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what if we shoot the angle on the Tonight Show? And Bischoff was like, that would be a great idea. And he was already talking to NBC quite a bit,
mm-hmm.
and they wanted to do business with us, so it all just worked out. And when we shot that angle, when Rodman was on the couch with Hogan and talking to Jay Leno, and then we came out from the wings, threw the chairs up in the air and threw them down into the Diamond Cutter side up, place went crazy, man. And the face-off, and Jay was in the middle, and Drew Carey was there. I remember the comedian Drew Carey.
Yeah.
He came up to Jay Leno afterwards, and he was like, "Was that real? Was that real? What happened?" Like, he bought it,
That is terrific. You mentioned something that I talk about a lot on my show, which is work ethic. One of the reasons, I absolutely love you and Karl Malone and any other athlete or person that has that kind of undying, unbeatable work ethic. And, it just means a lot when you have that going for you every day, when people try to shoot you down verbally or whatever. You just rely on that, and that go-to video that you talked about, I had a chance to watch it, and it's inspired me, just to have that kind of ethic to lean on, when people try to take you down.
Wow, me and Steve, Steve Austin's podcast is pretty amazing. He did one with Jake that he just put up on his podcast sleeve right now, Podcast One. and he really talks about it. He was totally blown away by the Performance Center. But when me and him finally sat down to do our podcast, that's really what we talked about. We talked about, people not believing in you. And when I told people, that I was going to get professional wrestling at 31 and as a manager, they're just like, what's he smoking? But I made it happen.
Yeah.
And when I finally got to WCW as a manager after 7 months, they said, between the long blonde hair, and the rap, and the diamonds, and the clothes, and the diamond dolls, it's like no one's paying attention to the wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So I was too over the top of professional wrestling as a manager, which you would think it's impossible to be too over the top of wrestling. But, they said it wasn't my fault, but they said what we should have done was put you in a pair of tights and boots and see if you can do this, and sort of laugh, because I was 35 and a half, and I had 7 months left of my contract, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. I never wanted to, when I was a kid, I never wanted to be a manager. I thought they were great, but I never wanted to be a manager. I wanted to be a wrestler.
Right.
So I got 7 months left of my contract. I'm going to do it. And I told Michael P.S. Hayes, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest characters.
Yeah.
He fell down on the floor laughing. Everybody laughed. Like, what's he smoking? He's never going to be able to pull this off. He's never going to be able to learn enough time. He'll be too old. But they were wrong, and at 40, that was 1996. My career took off like a rocket, and 97 and 98, I was on top of the world. According to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of my closest friends, was rated #1 wrestler in the world, and without question he was. Rated #4 was Diamond Dallas Page, from obscurity, 2-3 years earlier. But, people laughed at it. But at that point, they couldn't laugh anymore because I was one of the top guys in the business.
That you were.
And then I blew my back out.
Oh.
I actually ruptured my L4 and L5 so badly. It wasn't one bump. It wasn't Kevin Nash's power slam, which is the reason I crawled over and tagged out. I was in a tag team match with Canyon. But it wasn't that bump. It was all the bumps, all the travel, all the stress. And my body finally said, okay, uncle. And then, boom, my back blew out. And I had 3 top back specialists telling me, spine specialists telling me, you're never going to wrestle again. So I went to another one. They all kept saying the same thing, like, you're done. And I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. Mm-hmm. And like I told you earlier, I'm a guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga.
Right.
But at that point, I would try anything. And I'm so glad that I was married to Kimberly at the time, and I was so glad that she taunted me enough to bully me and try it. And in 3 weeks, I couldn't handle all the humming and the chanting and the reach your arms to the heavens so the universe smiles back at you. I just couldn't handle any of that stuff. It's just not me. But I found a power yoga tape that had the least amount of that. And I started doing it, and I couldn't do any of the moves, so I had to figure out all the modifications and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, I started to put it together, and in 3 weeks, 3 weeks, I started to feel a significant difference in my flexibility and my core strength. Now I'm doing rehab because I've rehabbed both shoulder surgeries, both knee surgeries.
Right.
So I know a lot about rehab. So I know a lot about breaking up scar tissue, which alleviates pain and also creates flexibility, which creates youth. So what I did is I started to mix the rehab techniques with the yoga positions, and I threw an old school calisthenics, push-ups, squats, crunches, but I did them with a slow burn movement, meaning like a 3 count or a 5 count or a 10 count, so it's going up and down. And what I figured out completely by accident, Snowman, completely by accident, every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart's got to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle. Sort of like you lay down, your heart rate's the lowest ever. You sit up, it goes up. Stand up, it goes up. Walk, jog, run, up, up, up.
Yep.
I figured out by accident how to do that with DDP yoga. And in less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career's over. At 43, I was the heavyweight champ of the world. And what I created would be way more valuable than that ever could have been to me, because I developed a workout, DDP yoga, that was kick-ass cardio, would dramatically increase your flexibility, strengthen your core like never before, but here's the kicker: minimal joint impact, virtually no impact, no stress on your body. So you heal, strengthen, have an amazing cardiovascular routine. And that's why that disabled veteran who couldn't walk without the aid of the knee braces, the back brace, and the cane, that's how he could start to lose the weight because of the dynamic resistance. And that's why that cat lost 140 pounds in 10 months. More importantly, lost the knee braces, back brace, and canes, and not just walk but ran. That's my workout. And that's what I got Jake on. That's what I got Scott on. Jericho, he's still wrestling. 4 years ago, they said his career was over.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the video of the disabled vet. When he saw it, he called me and he said, D, whatever you send me, I will do. He couldn't even sing, because he couldn't get the high notes. He likes to run around the stage. He couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So he was here's a guy who's lived the dream, not just in wrestling, but as a rock and roll singer.
Right.
I mean, he's got 6 albums out. Here's a guy who lived both dreams, and both dreams were going to be taken away in one swoop. And when I helped him, and in 5 weeks, he was 85% pain-free. It was never a weight loss thing for Jericho. He was in great shape. But in 5 weeks, he was 85% pain-free. In 3 months, he was 100% pain-free, and headlined WrestleMania with CM Punk. So it really gave super validity, to DDP yoga. And then he went to just doing DDP yoga, period. And he took off 6 months from wrestling and toured with Bobby. And then he showed up out of nowhere 2 years ago at the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. And he was number 2 in. And he lasted for 48 minutes and 38 seconds.
Yes.
48 minutes,
right.
And only does DDP yoga and not wrestling. So, it was just an amazing tribute.
Yeah.
And then he jumped off the cage I think he was there about 4 months ago. He was still with WWE, and he was there for about 4 or 5 months, and he'd just show up for a while and take off and do all his Fozzy stuff, then come back and do a little run. But the last match he had with Bray Wyatt, he jumped off the top of the cage at 44.
Mm-hmm.
That's called DDP yoga.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's why I can help so many people. And it was never about weight loss. It was about healing my body. But it just turned out to be a really awesome side effect, the weight loss part.
Oh, man, the one, the only Diamond Dallas Page joining us via the U.S. Tire Hotline on this Friday edition of Snowman in the Morning on the Arena Sports Network and arenasportsnet.com. Some of the greats, Scott Hall, Sting, Goldberg, Macho Man, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, you mentioned Chris Jericho, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, The Undertaker. What's it like working with these guys and like just getting in there and having fun with them and tangling with them?
Growing up, and these guys were only a couple years older than me. But, in the 80s, Hogan, he would be, they try to say he's expunged from WWE, which that won't last.
No, it won't.
He'll be given a reprieve and be able to come back as he should. That was a little bit stiff,
yeah.
I thought. But bottom line is, Hulk will survive, and he is immortal.
He's the immortal Hulk Hogan. That's why he has the name.
Yeah, him and Randy Savage, those being the 2 biggest names, from the 80s. Piper, of course, too.
Yeah.
The late, great Roddy Piper and the late, great Macho Man. Guys died too young in our business, you know, but, and it has a lot to do with the wear and tear, that your body can only take so much wear and tear. But Hulkster, him and Mach, they had come up to me earlier in my career, and like 4 years out before, like in '94, I remember both of them different times coming up to me and letting me know that whatever I'm doing, to keep doing it because they saw something in me, and that was very flattering at the time. But 3 years later, to be able to work with Macho, and 4 years later to be able to work with Hogan, these are the guys, and that's as high as you could get. Before Stone Cold Steve Austin made a name for himself, and of course The Rock, who's the biggest star in the world.
Yep.
These were the two guys that to get me in the locker room with them and be on the same level. And at some points, like in '97, I was maybe the most over guy in our company. Because Sting went into the rafters, there was no Goldberg.
Right.
And of course, the NWO were the mega stars.
Yes.
But I was selling more stuff than they were.
Mm-hmm.
At the time. And it was crazy. Ric Flair, being able to be, Ric Flair, me and him have had our ups and downs over the years, but we're in a really good spot right now. And I got a lot of, Ric Flair, it's Ric Flair. I mean,
right.
You don't get any better. You don't get any better than that. Between him and Michaels, Mike go down as between the two of them who would go down as the greatest ever because they could do everything.
Agreed.
I mean, if Steve Austin had, a longer run,
mm-hmm.
he didn't get dropped on his head.
Yeah.
He might be the guy. Who could do it all from work to talk to, just I mean, get the TV. You know, having someone in the palm of their hand, in his interviews and everything. And he'll make you laugh, cry, scream, yell. But to be in that same level from the guy that came up from being a manager and a color commentator to becoming a wrestler at 35 and then to be on the same level of those guys 5 years later, it was an amazing accomplishment, and today, about 5 years ago, I was doing an interview with a guy named Brian Alvarez. And it always stuck with me because at one point he said to me, he said, so where do you see Diamond Dallas Page 5 years from now? And this is about maybe 5.5 years ago. And I said to him, Brian, I honestly believe that DDPO is going to dwarf my wrestling career. He's like, what? Because no one really knew about it.
Right.
But I knew some of the people that I was helping. I had a man walk up to me. We were at the Slam Dance Film Festival with the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and which, by the way, Slam Dance is one of the top independent film festivals for independent films. And we didn't win the film festival, but we really did because Slam Dance, this whole tour that we're doing theatrically around the country, Dallas, New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, this whole tour is Slam Dance Presents. This is the first film they've ever gone out with, and it's pretty cool to be in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But God, what was I talking about before I said Slam Dance? What was it? My ADD said in there. I can't remember now. Where was I? There's someone going, oh no, you were right at that point. You changed directions.
Right.
And Snowman, you're not listening to me. It's funny because I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of corporate speaking, and about my newest talk that I do is called Owning It. Like owning it. Like I don't care what it is. I really break it down, and I tell people about my history. Like I grew up with ADD and dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading at a third grade level, page 30. And that's when I started to teach myself how to read. And again, it goes back to that work ethic thing, And I never understood what ADD or dyslexia was. I just thought I had trouble with this reading thing, and it never made sense to me. And then I started to really try to tackle it. You got to face your fears, and I talk about that. And at some point, I might go off on a rant about something like I just did with you about Slam Dance thing, and I'll go, oh man. I forgot where I was.
Right.
You thought that ADD stuff was BS, right?
Right.
At some I go, where was I? And then someone will answer, I go, oh, you were listening. Awesome. Okay. And I go right back into it. And it gets a big laugh, but it's true. I'm just, and I think that's the funniest thing, that when you're not trying to be funny, you're just, having a good time, people laugh because it's so real, and there's times in the movie The Resurrection, Jake the Snake, you're going to laugh your ass off, but there's other times, like I have Austin on film talking about the movie. He was so blown away with the performance, the DDP Yoga Performance Center looked like. I mean, blown away. And I always tell people, I know it sounds like I'm overselling it, but I'm not. When you get there, you're like, oh my God. And, but he also, the movie, he was so blown away by the movie because he saw our first cut, which was really about probably our 8th or 9th.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't let anybody see it until I thought it was, what we wanted to represent. And, but he saw it and he thought it was good, but Steve is never going to put you over unless he don't put anybody over. So he was never going to put you over unless he loved it. And when he saw the last cut, when it's going out to all the theaters now and will be on VOD and DVD, he was blown away. He actually said he shed a tear more than once.
And this is Stone Cold Steve Austin we're talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, So, really, really, really heartfelt. Everyone is, Josh Brolin, right? Josh is one of the top actors in the world.
Right.
And we have a friend of ours named Chris Bell. He's one of our executive producers along with myself on this film. And he had actually given the film over to Josh because we wanted to maybe get him to come over and do our Q&A, because we get like Chael Sonnen, one of the greatest UFC fighters, that I think is one of the greatest characters ever in in MMA. He did our Q&A in Portland, Oregon, when we were there last week. A couple months ago, we did one in LA, and Joey Manganiello, the guy from True Blood. He was also in Magic Mike. He's marrying that gorgeous Latino chick, Sophia, whatever.
Right.
Great guy, really great guy. A big fan. But he did the Q&A too. So what we wanted, we were hoping that maybe Josh would consider doing it, because we're all big fans of his. And he sent Chris this text, which was so strong, man. He said that I'm just going to give you the one little quote here, because a lot of it was personal. It put me over, and I don't want to say that because it'll sound like I'm putting myself over. But he wrote a great story of hope, love, and real compassion. So that's the resurrection. I mean, that sums up, the resurrection of Jake the Snake. And again, anybody out there who wants to, check it out, because you grew up watching Jake, or me, or Scott, or and
I did, man. I grew up watching you, watching Jake, watching the Hulkster, Macho Man Randy Savage. I tell you what, when I was growing up, a bunch of my friends back in my own neighborhood in Chicago first got into wrestling. And I know we couldn't execute it perfectly, but one of the newest moves I wanted to try was the DDT, which is like basically a reverse pile driver. And my friend said, how are you going to do that? And it took me like 2 months to like really study it and watch it and see how they're doing it and see how both partners are working together. Finally did it. And my friend said, that took a lot of practice. I said, the guys take a lot of practice in doing it.
It's funny that Jake has the funniest story how that came to be. He was working at Lenny. I can't remember his name right now, but he was working with this guy who knew very well, and Jake would grab him in a face lock because his knee lift, he had a great knee lift. His knee lift would be his finish. And one night he was like pulling him into position to do the knee lift, and he fell.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's how it happened.
That's how it happened?
Went, whoa. Yeah, and he went, whoa. Like, because, DC's just, whoa. Like, you get it out of nowhere, And Jake, not wanting to look stupid because he tripped, jumped up his feet. I didn't trip. Like to himself. And Lenny just laid there because he was the real, Jake was still green as grass.
Right.
But Lenny was, a seasoned vet, and he laid there because he knew, like, wow, he's got something here. And again, happened by accident. Sort of like how I developed dynamic resistance with DDP yoga and figuring out that every time you flex or engage, your heart rate has to, increase because you have to beat faster to get the blood to the different muscles.
Right.
And that's completely by accident. I mean, it was like I had a heart monitor on. I was doing push-ups. I looked at my heart monitor. My heart rate was like 130. I was like, what the hell? What's wrong with this heart monitor? I'm not running. I'm not on the elliptical or the Stairmaster or the bike.
Right.
I'm in one position. And I thought it was wrong. And then as I figured it out, some of the greatest things happen by mistake, happenstance, or whatever they call it,
Oh, man. I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation. We're going to have it again on our podcast. Go to arenasportsnet.com/SIT morning to download the podcast and download this interview. The one, the only, Diamond Dallas Page, one of my wrestling heroes, is on my show. Man, an honor, an absolute honor.
So let me ask you, are you going to be at the we will be in Woodridge, and I'm about to cut the deal with the Music Box. So we'll be in Woodridge on, let me think, I think it's October 9th. And you can get tickets now because we're going to sell out. And they might add another show or two, but there's only so many we can add before we have to get out of Chicago and head on to the next city. So I'm telling you, we'll be doing doing PR on the 8th. The 9th we will be in. So let's get together again on the 8th, and we'll make sure we get with Boner to you again to remind everybody that we will actually be there. But you want to get your tickets like ASAP.
Yes.
And the quickest way to do that is I can't remember what the name of the theater is, and I think it's Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard.
In Woodridge. Yes, that's the one. And then today, probably later this weekend. Probably later today, the Music Box right down there in downtown Chicago, they will they'll have the probably tickets up for sale, and we'll be doing on Saturday there. So a Q&A after, and then we're going to do a meet and greet. People can get the signed poster of the movie, or T-shirts or pictures or whatever. So we'll be doing all that too. So and I'm sure me and Jake will be there. Not sure if Scott's going to make that one or not. He might be. But that'll be October 9th and most likely October 10th. It will be in Chi-Town, and that would be a great place for people to come out and see the movie. And I think they're both keeping it in the theater for a week as well. So if you can't make it, to catch the Q&As with us, then you can still go in and see the theater. Or all the information is at JakeTheSnakeMovie.com. Go there today, sign up, make sure you're on the list there, so you can find out when the VOD's coming out, the DVD. And if you want to check the new DDP Yoga, that's a no-brainer, DDPYoga.com.
I'm definitely going to get into DDP Yoga. If I don't make it on the 9th, it's probably because I have a football call, because I think that's a Friday night. But put me down for the 10th. I will definitely be there. It would be my pleasure and my honor, sir.
Well, again, talk to my PR girl, and we'll make that happen. We'll get together so we can do something on the 9th or the 8th, maybe the 8th or something.
Okay.
Coming into that, do a little PR going into that. All right, bro?
All right. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate the time. Diamond Dallas Page joining me on Snowman in the Morning. Thank you very much, my friend.
It's been your pleasure, Snowman.
Yes, it has. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
He's back, and we're ready to talk all things NBA NBA All-Star Game. William Morgan, one of my basketball aficionados, is back. How are you, my friend?
Hey, nice to be back, man.
Okay. I talked about this on Friday with my buddy Michael Lyle and one of my good friends, Darnell Solins. Who the hell came up with these rules for this year's All-Star Game?
The thing that kills me, they're doing it to me. They're doing it to try to increase viewership. But the thing about it, the names are so big, you're gonna get views from it regardless.
Mm-hmm. Why can't
That's
it
the thing
be?
that's killing me.
Why can't it be East and West again?
Right.
Can we just go back to East and West?
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Particularly with the way Giannis picks. He picking his best friends.
Yes. This is why I don't like the captains. This is exactly why I don't like the captains. Because remember, the first year it was LeBron and Steph. And to be perfectly honest, Steph got screwed out of a couple of great players to be on his team.
He did.
Steph got screwed, okay?
He did. He did.
So why can't it be just East and West? I guess the East got tired of getting beat up by the West. Like, if you want to be the team, beat the team. Exactly. Why don't people get this concept?
Exactly. And,
now,
and to be fair, Giannis probably been thinking the same way you were thinking because most of that team is from the Eastern Conference.
Yes. So it should be East and West anyway. They just need to call it East and West and be done. This year's All-Star Game is in Chicago, my hometown. It's in the United Center. Last time it was in Chicago, it graced old Chicago Stadium. That, of course, was 1988. Here are the rules as I understand them, and you're allowed to laugh at any given time that I try to explain this.
Okay.
Each quarter begins 0-0. So, if Team LeBron beats Team Giannis, say 30-25, then Team LeBron wins $100,000 for the charity of their choice.
Okay.
Then you reset the score. Yeah, you know this is going to sound crazy. Then you reset the score for quarter two, and if Giannis beats LeBron by that same score, then Team Giannis wins $100,000 for the charity of their choice. You reset the score again for quarter three, and remember, each of the first three periods are 12-minute quarters. You reset for period three, and if Team LeBron wins again, then they get $100,000 for their charity. Now, if the quarter ends in a tie, then you roll the money over to the next quarter, and whoever wins the quarter wins the whole pot for their charity.
Right.
Folks, I'm as tongue-tied as you are trying to decipher this mess. Now,
what happened to the day?
Here's the kicker. I didn't give you the best part. The first three quarters are 12-minute quarters, okay? The fourth quarter is an untimed quarter. So they take the cumulative score of the first three periods, say Team LeBron leads 85-80. All Team LeBron would have to do to win the game, and this is where they honor Kobe, is tack on 24 points.
There you go.
So if Team LeBron scores, whoever scores 109, and this is the example that I was given, then that team would win the All-Star game. I have so many questions, which begin with, why the hell wouldn't you keep the running score anyway?
Right. Right. I don't get it. What has happened to the days of us having a traditional All-Star weekend? Now, if you want to do a slam dunk competition, the 3-point shootout. You can do a big man's competition. You can do a 1-on-1, which I would love to see between certain players.
I mean,
and then do the traditional All-Star game.
Bring back, you know something? Bring back the old timers game.
Yeah,
you got enough folks. Bring back the old timers game. Okay, that was one of the features of the weekend.
I'm with you.
You play 2 halves, making a running clock. You're good. Bring back the old timers game.
I'm with you.
This skills competition, for lack of a better term, to me, is boring.
It is. It is.
I understand the slam dunk. I understand the 3-point competition, and nothing will top 1988 when Michael Jordan won in front of his hometown fans. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
That's when Michael Jordan tore the roof off the joint.
Yep.
What has happened? And I plan to have Courtney Harden on later this week to discuss this same subject that we discussed a few years ago. What has happened to All-Star Weekend? What has happened to the luster that is All-Star Weekend?
Corporate, I believe, plays a hand in it, so to speak. And certain players not wanting to compete, or certain players dropping out after they said they would compete that you would want to see. I'm thinking that those are the 2 biggest factors on why this All-Star Weekend isn't what it used to be. And it's just a damn shame, because I can remember, man, like it was yesterday, Dominique, Spud, Jordan, all those for the slam dunk competition. But yet and still, we got LeBron James who won't do it.
You know what? I've always had a problem with that. I understand. Look, MJ put in his years as a slam dunk king. All right? He had nothing more to prove on that realm. Then, of course, he goes on and wins 6 championships. He had nothing left to prove. Why do you think LeBron James will not get in the slam dunk competition? What's up with that?
I don't know. Maybe not now in year 17, but back when it was year 9, year 10.
He could have easily participated.
Yep.
He could have easily participated.
Yep. And let's not forget this also. Jordan embarrassed himself in the 3-point competition.
Yeah, he did.
But at least he went out there and tried. LeBron can't try to slam dunk.
And you would think it would be one of his specialties.
Yeah.
You would think it would be one of his specialties. Here's a funny moment. Here's a funny moment, and I know a lot of LeBron fans are going to get on me about this, but you honor Kobe in the Staples Center. If you're the Lakers and Lakers fans, I'd be a little upset for this reason. You honor Kobe on a Friday night, a full house, a lot of folks watching outside, and then you go out and lay an egg against the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah, that's a problem.
They laid a big fat egg against the Portland Trail Blazers. They allowed 127 points to the Portland Trail Blazers. And also, if you're a Lakers fan, I'd be worried about this. You're playing the worst team in the league in the Golden State Warriors. Why did you allow them to hang around on Saturday night?
Yeah.
Why did you allow them to They're not playing their best ball right now.
No. They're what? They're playing 500 ball the last 11, 12 games. They're playing 500 ball right now, so they're not looking very, very good.
and in many ways, neither are the Clippers. They got smashed by the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. If you're playing the worst team in the league, and I go back to the Lakers, if you're playing the worst team in the league and you allow them to hang 120 points on you, you win by 5 in San Francisco. But remember, this is the same Warriors team playing shorthanded that beat the Houston Rockets by 12 on Christmas Day.
Yep. Amen. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be getting up. They played down to their competition, and they shouldn't have.
And for me, that's always been an issue with LeBron, playing down to his competition. I'm sorry, I have to speak it the way it is truthfully seen by my eyes. It just seems that with LeBron, even though he's in year 17, he plays down to his competition.
Yep.
He plays down to his competition. He's always, since he's been in the NBA, and we're talking about an incredible 17-year career, we're talking about since 2003, doesn't it seem to you, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth at all, but just follow me here, doesn't it seem to you like he's playing down to his competition instead of up?
Yes. Yes.
So
I believe you.
So why has he not gotten the message yet that he has a bullseye on his back and has for 17 years?
He needs to, because a lot of these games, everybody keeps saying that LeBron is this, LeBron is that better than Jordan. But the thing that's killing LeBron, I think, is his thought process in these games. Instead of coming out and taking over and setting the tone for his team and getting AD in, and he's trying to pass too much. He's trying to defer too much.
Yeah.
AD is fine because you got to feed AD in the post. That's fine.
Absolutely.
But when you're trying to get other guys who've come up short this year, i.e. Kyle Kuzma, you can't do that. You need to come out and be the tone setter. Get your own game going. Once you get your game going and your shot falling, then you go ahead and start facilitating to AD and other people. But get your game going first. And a lot of times out of LeBron, you don't see that.
You really don't. And he's so afraid, in my opinion, in a lot of games, he's so afraid to get his game going because he doesn't want to take away from others. And that part I understand. That's a lot of MJ, okay? But the difference is, Michael knew he can take over a game at any given time.
Yep. Exactly.
The biggest difference is Michael knew he can take the game over at any time. So,
and you're even seeing, and if you even look at, I don't mean to cut you off, but even if you look at LeBron, he's even being exploited defensively.
Yeah. He's been exploited defensively for the last 5 years. And everybody wants to go back to that chase down block in 2016 when he got Andre Iguodala. And I'm so glad the next year the Warriors got even, but that's a discussion for another time. That's the greatest defensive play I've seen in finals history. Please. I've seen much better, much earlier. Apparently, if that's the greatest defensive play, the chase down block by LeBron, if that is the greatest defensive play that you see in the NBA World Championship Series, obviously you haven't seen Larry Bird do his thing. Obviously you haven't seen Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar do his thing. Obviously you haven't seen the bad boy Detroit Pistons do their thing. The Bulls, the Spurs. I'm going there. I'm going all the way there. Obviously you haven't seen those teams do their thing. Okay?
Yep. And even though they lost the other night, I still like the Clippers coming out of the West.
Yeah.
Because their strengths are, A, they got that dog in them, but B, look at what they hit you with. They hit you with the start, and then they bring Morris, they bring Lou Williams off the bench. Oh my goodness! And while the Lakers are long and they're tall as a team, but
they're short on the bench.
Right. They're short on the bench. You can't count on Rondo anymore.
Nope. I
don't know what you might get something off Caruso, because he'll probably take Rondo's minutes now. But for the most part, I'm loving the Clippers right now. Clippers Bucks. I'm calling it now.
You know something? Here is a move the Lakers should have made, and I said this on Friday's NBA podcast, and I'm saying it now, and I think you'll agree with me. The fact that the Lakers didn't even blink trying to get Andre Iguodala is an indictment against the Lakers.
think it's more on an indictment on the fact that they're trying to keep their core, and they look at Danny Green, they look at Kyle Kuzma as part of their core. And you look at LeBron, you look at Kuz, you look at Danny Green, look at AD. That's what they want. Anybody else is up for trade. The problem is nobody else wants those players.
No. And I wouldn't either.
That's the problem.
And I wouldn't either.
That's the problem.
I wouldn't want them either. I mean, why would you even take that? Why would you even take that chance?
Nope.
Why would you even take that chance? And again, I say that the lack of moves by the Lakers, especially when Andre Iguodala has been available all season, is an indictment against the Lakers, because it shows me they don't want to win, because they had a chance to get a proven winner. Nothing against LeBron, nothing against AD, nothing against Rajon Rondo. But you had a chance to get a proven winner in Andre Iguodala. 3 championships in 5 seasons. He was in the best culture. He was in the best basketball culture for 8 years, and you didn't go after him. Why?
Another thing that's indicted that's kind of got me upset too. If you really, really wanted to trade Kyle Kuzma, they didn't showcase him at all.
Nope.
You could have showcased him within that second unit, but they didn't do it.
Nope. And they don't want to do it. My feeling is they don't want to do it. They want to hold on to him in case some even bigger trade bait or free agency bait comes around, i.e. Karl Anthony Towns. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't think will happen, but I think will. Karl Anthony Towns will end up in the Bay.
I think so too. Because now they have assets. Now they have assets to do it by getting rid of D'Angelo. So they have some assets. So I can see that happening.
They snatched Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors snatched Andrew Wiggins in a one-on-one trade for D'Angelo Russell. Now, Russell is busy, has been proving himself all year. I understand that. But the Warriors need some depth on that bench. And they're getting it. And they're also getting a lot of draft picks. Here is the biggest piece of the puzzle that I see happening this summer, and if I'm totally wrong, I am totally wrong. All these draft picks that the Warriors have available, I say they will still be able to get Karl Anthony Towns and not sacrifice one of them.
They might.
It may, if they cost anything for Golden State, it'll be the same kind of deal that the 49ers made for Jimmy Garoppolo. Give up a second-round pick and you get your franchise quarterback. They'll give up a second. The Warriors will give up a second-round pick, if not 2, and they'll get another franchise player that they can keep in their system for a good 4 to 5 years, because they have their core. They have their core. They got Stephen Curry. They got Klay Thompson. They got Draymond Green. Okay? And Green is the only one that's been healthy all year long. My point is they can easily talk to Minnesota and say, look, we'll give you a few second-round picks if you give us Karl Anthony Towns, because now you get Minnesota thinking young again. They already gave up Andrew Wiggins for a song, and I got nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all. Don't get me wrong. Nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all. Nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all. But at the same time, the Warriors are thinking 4 or 5 years down the road when they rule the roost again. I have a feeling this summer Karl Anthony Towns will come to San Francisco, and he won't even blink when they make their offer.
I can see that because it's a winning culture. And they'll have Andrew Wiggins there to be Harrison Barnes 2.0.
Yep.
So I can definitely see that. And
you can see the Warriors rebuilding right in front of our eyes, and no one will say it. No one will say it because everybody that thinks they're an NBA fan, and you and I have spoken about this before, any and everybody that thinks they're an NBA fan are celebrating the fact that the Warriors are having an awful season in the midst of their dynasty. And they're still a dynasty because they've won 3 titles in 5 years. This is a horrible year because they lost Kevin Durant to free agency. You lose Klay Thompson in the World Championship Series. You lose Stephen Curry at the top of the season. I mean, what are you going to do? You're without three of your best players. And Kevin Durant hasn't played 1 minute this season, and I don't think he'll play 1 minute next season. I don't think he'll play for 2 years. And he's going to languish in Brooklyn. Unless that injury heals the way it is supposed to heal and the way he wants it to heal, because you're talking about one of the most gifted, athletic 7-footers with a consistent jump shot. Pay attention, LeBron. With a consistent jump shot that can knock it down from anywhere as well as post people up. That ACL injury is going to mess him up for 2 years, because if you look at all the reports, and if you know anything about physiology, that MCL injury takes 2 years to heal. 2 years. So Klay Thompson is lost for this year. We all know that. He's probably going to be back in October, because the Warriors lost him in June. Okay? So when June comes around, it'll be 1 full year. You give him another 5 months on top of that, he'll be fine. Stephen Curry will be fine. Kevin Durant will not.
And he still won't be 100%. He might be maybe, 80, 85?
If that.
Yeah.
If that.
He won't be 100%. He won't be 100%.
And also,
he may have to adjust his game a little bit.
And also, who's to say Kyrie Irving will be there after this year? The way this year is going forward.
Look. I am a Spencer Dinwiddie fan. Dinwiddie, I'm sorry. And I am a big fan of his. He's doing it when Irving's not in there. He's been tasked with the job of running the team, and he's been doing a doggone good job and making a lot less money. So if Kyrie Irving can't come back, hey, so be it. He's been doing a great job. He's been doing a fantastic job. And if he can't come back or can't come back healthy, hey, you have somebody there who can run that point guard position.
Absolutely. I mean, the Nets are a mess. Even though they're competing for a playoff spot right now.
Huge mess.
They can
Huge mess.
Here's the point with the Nets. They can get to April, but this team won't get beyond April. Big problem.
Nah. Can you imagine if the Nets was over in the West? They would stand a chance coming out of the West.
They would
not one shot coming out of the West.
Not a chance at all. Not a chance at all. Not with the way this team's constructed.
And there's a whole lot of disappointing teams in the league this year. The Nets are somewhat disappointing. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, God.
Very disappointing given the talent on that team. Miami's gotten stronger. Toronto's holding pat. And of course the Bucks. It's the Bucks. I mean, they're playing good basketball right now. That's the team to beat right now. That's the team to beat.
Well, you mentioned a team that I have not been sold on since they drafted Ben Simmons, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. I said earlier in the season that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will cost Philadelphia more than enhance them. Ben Simmons can't make a jump shot. Joel Embiid's taking too many jump shots. He won't camp in the lane.
And another thing I don't understand about Joel Embiid, he be having the craziest injuries or reasons why he can't play.
Right.
It's like, stomach flu, stomach virus? Not saying that it's not devastating, but, bro, how old are you?
Yeah. Yeah, that can happen to anybody. Here's another move the Lakers should have made, and they didn't. Why didn't they go after Derrick Rose? Because the Lakers are in desperate need of a point guard right now. Rajon Rondo is not the answer.
There's a story out there, too, that I think Detroit wanted Caruso, was going to give him Rose. Lakers denied it.
I wonder who denied that deal.
I don't know. It could have been Pelinka. It could have been Buss. It could have been Vogel.
Pelinka.
I don't know.
Listen, it ain't Pelinka. You and I both know, and by that evil laugh, you already know the answer. Pelinka didn't deny that trade. Come on. Who the hell do you think denied that trade?
Yeah, we knew it was.
Who the hell do you think whose name ain't Rob Pelinka or Jeannie Buss put the kibosh on that move?
It was Braun. It was Braun. And if he did put the kibosh on it, it was stupid. Derrick Rose is playing very, very well right now.
Yeah.
And he could have been a benefit to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Inside outside game. Danny Green posting up for threes, him driving, penetrating, kicking back out to him, setting him up for the 3-point shot. But you can't do that now because he's gone. He's still at Detroit.
And two moves were there for Los Angeles to make. They could have gotten Derrick Rose, and they could have gotten Andre Iguodala. And I'm willing to bet you, there is one person and one person only who put the kibosh on both of those trades.
Ron.
Yep. And I have another rumor in my head of why. They're going after Ben Simmons.
Whoa.
I have this strange feeling because Ben Simmons is a part of Clutch Sports.
He is. They made it.
Yeah. Who do you think? Yeah, he may have signed an extension with Philadelphia. But who do you think? And nothing against the players, okay? This is just what I feel. Who do you think sniffing around trying to get Ben Simmons on his team?
Oh yeah.
No other team.
You know wrong.
Yeah, no other team wants Ben Simmons for the simplest of fact. Ben Simmons, for the life of me, cannot hit a jump shot. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one as I enjoyed bringing it to you. I'll have another best of tomorrow before I line up some great guests for Friday, including the return of Damian Adams. Courtney Harden will join me on Friday, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and quite a few others that I have for a fantastic Friday episode. And you may even hear Mike Debate's voice as we put a wrap on the 2019-2020 NFL season and get you ready for the off season and all the activities within. So until tomorrow, as I continue my trek down here in Durham, North Carolina with my family, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope you all are too. Until tomorrow, Snowman out.